6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy. It was a busy weekend for Bill and I. Bill, a lot more than I did.
I don't know about that. You went and saw Mom, and you had fun yesterday, didn't you guys?
We did.
Yeah, what'd you
do? Mother's Day. What my wife really likes is breakfast in bed and a quiet morning.
And did you accomplish that?
It's a team sport.
Yeah.
And Danny made the waffles.
Okay.
Taylor cut the strawberries up. Josh was helping with the sausage and the bacon, cool. and little Steven was
question: frozen waffles, fresh waffles?
Fresh waffles.
All righty,
absolutely.
Just checking.
Fresh waffles made with those cage-free eggs we have from the chickens we still have left. The coyote hasn't got.
Yeah.
So that's what she likes, and nice quiet morning, and then we get together with the rest of the family and up to the fort.
All right. Now, biggest question: who gets to clean the waffle iron afterwards? Because that's the big mess in that entire job.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, who did that?
I don't know who did that.
Hey, all right. It wasn't you. That's even better.
I'm like, that is probably still sitting by the sink.
Oh, that's not good. That is not good then.
My wife will get to it today.
See, and that's one of the things that I try when I'm doing the things for my wife is also the cleanup side of it too.
Yep,
because
good for you.
Yeah. So yeah, we did. We did a lot of stuff at home. Luckily, it was kind of a low key Mother's Day on the home front with my wife, and then we went and saw my mom and had lunch with her, and then came back home and did some other stuff around the house and watched the Nuggets last night as well.
Yeah, that was good.
Kind of cool. Yeah.
How's your mom liking the new place?
She's really liking it. It's really nice. She's at St. Andrew's Village, which they've been a really, really good community, and she's making friends, and we had people stop by and say hi at the table. And the nicest part that we talked about is she's now like 10 minutes from us. So we had to drive 10 minutes. And then we went to her apartment, and then we just went downstairs to their big, giant, spacious dining room for their Mother's Day brunch. And then we just wandered back upstairs, and I helped her out with some stuff and took some stuff down to the storage facility. It was just so easy. It wasn't the idea of going and getting her and then traveling to a restaurant, waiting in line, being in the busy restaurant. And the best part that I'm really enjoying about her place, especially the restaurant, is they're not in a hurry. It's not, and I understand on Mother's Day, it's about turning the tables over.
Right.
You've got to get this, and they need to move you, and they need to move you. This is reservations, and they planned out the entire morning. You don't have to leave your table. If you want to stay there for 3 hours, you can stay there for 3 hours. So they've organized it because this is a retirement community. They don't have a lot of other things on their mind. They're not rushing out to go do a whole bunch of other things. So the idea that is this leisurely breakfast is really nice. It's really kind of cool. I've been over there a couple of times with her, and it slowed me the first couple of times because they're not quick, but they don't have to be. And once you embrace that, hey, this is going to be something that is going to be slower, more leisurely, and it's about... Because the residents sit there, the residents talk. And so it is this space to allow the residents to have community and to talk to each other. And it's adorable because there's kind of a rule that, like on the reservation ones on these special days, it's different. But when you normally, you make a reservation, say, hey, I'm going to show up at the restaurant at 5:30. So they just can, have numbers. But the rule is you don't, it's like, it's funny. It's kind of like away at camp. You don't start your own table. If there's another table that has empty seats, they ask you to go and fill the table. And the idea being because it's about community.
Yeah.
It's about you're going to meet different residents. You're going to have a chance to talk, and everybody kind of plays along. And it is really cool. And
makes me want to go, bro.
It is awesome, man. And the other thing is we've made friends to the people sitting next to us and things. So we're talking, you just kind of lean over and you talk to, and so soon you're talking to the tables next to you. And the part is, again, it's a retirement community, so they don't have anything else to do. So these aren't short conversations. You start chatting with the table next to you, it's 20 minutes. And it's really fun. It is such a neat group of people. It is just, and the enormous number of things that some of these people have accomplished in their lives. The woman that lives across the hall from my mom, she told me, is this wonderful musician. Absolutely phenomenal. And she's like in her 90s, ridiculously good musician. And so she plays the piano, the organ, and does all the accompaniment when they have the church services. They have various denominations that come in, and that's what she does. And they were talking the other day. My mom tells me that, she shares with her that, if she went back and she could have gone back and done her career over again, she would have been an accompanist. would have chased that because that's what really gives her joy. So it's this wonderful thing about meeting these people. It's great. There's a woman down her hall whose husband was in the Navy for 40 years. And she's always wearing his hat. He passed away about 6 years ago, and she's always wearing his hat. It is just really cool. It's just cool. It is a great group of people. So yeah, it was fun. So yeah, and you get to hang out at the fort, which again, that's a phenomenal place here in Colorado.
And Holly Kinney, the owner of the fort, came by, which was very cool.
Oh, that is neat. And you went the whole extended family. So what was that like?
Yep, there was 12 of us. So the big crew.
That's got to be special, especially for mom, mom seeing everybody around.
Yeah.
That's something really special. That's
and
really cool.
And grandbaby's coming and another grandbaby on the way. So not with us, but with my brother and his sister.
Making an announcement today?
My sister-in-law.
Oh, that's nice.
Right. So and that's such a historic place. It's my favorite restaurant in Colorado. Good. And you get, it's a cool place. Good food.
It is. And there's something that kind of represents Colorado. It feels like old school Colorado. It's really neat.
Exactly.
Really
Sam
neat.
Arnold and all those stories and the pictures, Bill Clinton and Bill Owens and all those guys on the wall.
Yeah, all sorts of history. So cool.
Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Glad you had a great weekend. Great stories. 44 and sunny in Denver. Expecting highs in the lower 70s today. The 7 and 5 day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Denver Public Schools says there will be an increased security situation at East High School today after threats were made over social media. Denver Police and DPS Department of Safety are investigating the threats, and they say the increased security is a safety precaution. One person is dead following a fiery Sunday night crash on Santa Fe, where a wrong-way driver lost control and crashed. First responders say the vehicle was engulfed in flames when they arrived, and the driver was pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities say it isn't clear if the driver died from the crash or the fire. Dozens of walkouts at college graduations over the weekend as Hamas supporters continue to create chaos. At DU, Hamas supporters have met with the administration for the first time and giving a list of demands. At Duke's graduation, a group of students walked out during comedian Jerry Seinfeld's commencement address. About 60 Rutgers students walked out of their graduation ceremony, with a similar scene playing out on the West Coast, surprisingly at UC Berkeley. Israel Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu knows that these people hate Israel, Jews, and America, and it is crucial that America returns to being the leader of the free world and push back on terrorist regimes.
These crowds, mobs in American universities, they burn the Israeli flag and they burn the American flag. They chant, death to Israel, death to America. So we're fighting a common battle, a battle between civilization and barbarism. And that's why we have to win. That's why we will win.
Former President Trump's campaign derailment trial resumes in New York. Former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen expected to take the stand. Over the weekend, Trump campaigned in New Jersey in front of 100,000 people.
Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. I am being indicted for you, and never forget our enemies want to take my freedom, because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way. We're going to be in this thing together. We're all in this together.
And all the craziness continues in New York this morning. An 11-year-old girl was abducted by a man in Aurora while walking to her bus stop and was taken to an apartment where she was assaulted. She was able to escape and found someone who helped her, called 911. Police went to the apartment where the alleged assault occurred and arrested 31-year-old Shakariani Malanda, that is, who police say is a registered sex offender. He faces charges of second-degree kidnapping and sexual assault on a child. News is brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com.
Edwards lost the ball with a turnover. Nice Denver D. Porter at the other end, and he tries and he gets it to go. Beating the clock. Court length. That's intercepted. Murray good at the go. Got it! A big time three.
Jamal Murray hit a half-court three after stealing a pass and then launched it near Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller on the broadcast table. A 5-point turnaround in fewer than 2 seconds last night, right before the halftime buzzer in Game 4 of the NBA Western Conference semifinals. And the Nuggets, even the series with the T-Wolves, 2 games apiece. The series returns to Denver tomorrow night. Joker had 35 points. Gordon played so well, 27 points. So did Jamal Murray, 19. And despite Anthony Edwards, 44 points, the Nuggets win again, and they've tied it at 2. The Avs try to tie their series with the Stars at 2 apiece tonight at Ball Arena. We'll call it Puck Arena. Drop the puck at 7:30 this evening. So great stuff going on. 39 in Boulder, 41 in Parker, and 44 in Denver. We have kicked off the week. It's Monday morning. Good morning, Jeff and Bill. Continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 7-10 5-day forecast is calling for a mixed bag this weekend weather-wise. Some sun, some clouds, and some scattered afternoon and evening shower and thunderstorm activity at times. Expect partly cloudy skies, upper 50s today with afternoon showers and a few thunderstorms near 40 tonight. Partly to mostly cloudy, upper 60s Saturday, afternoon and evening thunderstorms. 60s and lower 70s Sunday and Monday with afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms both days. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
This is a good song for what Trump's going to face this morning.
This is such a good song.
Michael Cohen in courtroom. The battle begins.
Okay, this is weird. Did you hear this? Oh, God. Was it Politico? I don't remember who. A couple of weeks ago, they did a kind of a really stupid story about Trump and what music he picks at Mar-a-Lago, because when he's there during dinner time, he has an iPad and he controls all the music that's being played. And oddly enough, this was on the playlist. It didn't fit with anything else. And I geeked out. People went, why are we doing this? I just wanted to see what the list was that they had. I was like, that's weird. It didn't fit sonically. It didn't fit at all with anything else on the playlist. This was a weird one for me. I'm like, really? Metallica? The other thing that got me was this was the only Metallica song. So I'm like, it's just you just like this one song. You're not like a Metallica fan. I'm like, no,
I bet he psychs himself up with it.
I don't know. I don't know. Given the rest of the stuff, I don't know. Maybe it is.
We all need to psych ourselves up a little bit. I bet that's one of his songs, and that would make sense as to why it's the only Metallica song on there.
And then why on the playlist at Mar-a-Lago? I don't know. It was a weird one. It just was this. It was like in Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. That was way out of bounds. Everything else that was on the list. Again, I'm not drawing aspersions or anything else. I'm just saying that it's like when I go through the grocery store. It's fascinating to figure out what psychopath has determined that playlist, because it is ridiculously stupid. I do not know what's involved there, but I'm walking through going, the hell are you doing playing this thing? Like, why are we following this song? I don't understand. Yeah, sorry, but that's just the stuff that goes on in my head.
Bill, the audiophile.
Yeah.
All right, Michael Cohen, that's what's ahead. According to the Washington Post, this week in the Trump trials, the most anticipated witness in the case, Trump's former attorney and fixer, who arranged the hush money payment to Stormy Daniels, is expected to take the stand on Monday. Prosecutors likely need Cohen to show that Trump was directly involved in falsifying business records to keep secret a $130,000 hush money payment made to Daniels in 2016, which previous witnesses have not yet decisively done. The cross-examination could get heated as Trump's attorneys attempt to show the jury that Cohen, who pleaded guilty to making false statements in a separate case, is a liar seeking revenge on his former boss. Prosecutors said they could finish presenting their case as early as this week. In addition to Cohen, they plan to call one other witness. After that, the defense can bring in any witnesses it wants to question before closing arguments begin. So this thing's starting to get towards conclusion here. Michael Cohen, if you haven't been tracking, has also been using TikTok in the evenings to make money commenting on the case. Cohen recently appeared on a video wearing a shirt with an image of Trump behind bars. Prosecutors say they've repeatedly asked Cohen to stop speaking publicly about Trump, but are powerless to rein him in. Merchan who has authority over Trump because he is a party in the case, but no authority over Cohen or other witnesses, declined to lift the portion of the gag order that prevents Trump from publicly responding to Cohen. But he told prosecutors to tell Cohen that the judge wants him to stop attacking the former president. So this is going to be the big rumble this week.
Yeah, and I'm curious how much is going to end up hurting Cohen's testimony and how much is really just trying to bait and goad Trump into certain responses. And I do think that, and I don't know how it's going to play out. Personally, I think it was good strategy, but again, don't know how to play out. But almost every prosecution witness that they brought up so far that has addressed Michael Cohen has said he's a liar. He's a liar. You can't trust him. He's this, he's this. And I think they have blunted that argument from the defense. And what they've done is said, okay, yeah. And they've tried to triangulate and say, yeah, he's a liar. He can't be believed. But we can triangulate and we can offer these two other opinions that show that this third thing that Cohen is going to say is true because two other people have already demonstrated it being true. So I think that's how they've gone about it. Whether or not it will end up being effective, who knows? Whether or not Cohen's going to play along, who knows? But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
If I was Michael Cohen, I'd just keep doing the TikToks too.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I don't think Trump gets convicted in this because he only needs one on that jury witness. So make yourself a little more famous, make a little bit of money, go out there. You're not on team prosecution.
Yeah.
You're just a witness. So, go big. You got a golden goose in the sense that the entire political world is going to be watching you this week. You just milk that.
Yeah, you have to, because it'll be a little more irrelevant in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So it won't matter as much.
And
So,
his career will be, and I think he just should stick with the TikTok thing. I also think it helps Trump, and I like Trump. So with this guy wearing Donald Trump should be in jail shirts and goofy little hats on his TikTok thing, and I think it only helps Trump.
Yeah, I don't think he's persuading anybody. So, oh well.
What about the other cases? So Florida, the federal classified documents case, where Trump faces 40 federal charges over accusations that he kept top secret government documents at Mar-a-Lago, his home and private club, and thwarted government demands to return them, postponed indefinitely.
Yeah, which again, it's because Judge Cannon can't make rulings she should have done months ago. She hasn't enforced rules about getting paperwork turned in on time. This is on her. This has nothing to do. And she's giving Trump exactly what he wants. And the idea that, and fundamentally, I don't know if, again, Jack Smith will move to remove her, because that is a big step and is a very high bar. But her coming in and saying, these issues are way too complicated, I can't possibly figure out them in time to go to trial, is a very, very good reason to go in and say, I need a judge who can figure this out. She says she can't do this. She's already admitted she's having problems being the judge on this case. How about we get somebody else that might be better equipped? That would be my argument if I wanted to remove her, but it's a huge high bar, and I'm not certain that he can get there yet. But she does stuff like this. It's getting closer, getting much closer, especially because of her statement that it is too complicated for her to figure out. That's a big deal. It's a big deal. Yeah, I don't think anybody would want to be involved in a judicial proceeding when the judge says, this is too complicated for me to figure out. I don't think anybody's going to have a lot of confidence in what is going forward after that.
Georgia case, This is where Trump faces 10 state charges for allegedly trying to undo the election results in that state. 4 of his 18 co-defendants have pled guilty. Planned trial date, none yet. The Georgia Court of Appeals said it would consider whether District Attorney Fani Willis, the top prosecutor in the case, should be removed over allegations that she improperly spent taxpayer money when she had a personal relationship with an attorney she hired to work on the case. A lower court had ruled that Willis can stay on the case, and Trump and some of the co-defendants appealed that decision. It is unclear when the appellate court will hear the case, though it likely will not be until late summer, earliest, with a ruling expected late this year or early next. In other words, it seems very unlikely Trump's Georgia trial would happen before the November election.
And if he is elected, it goes on hold because the indictments are on hold with the sitting president if he wins the election. So then it goes away for another 4 years, et cetera. And then you start looking at statute of limitations and there are other issues, which is,
that's right,
again, why soon we may be in a situation where if you get charged with a serious crime, you just have to announce you're running for president. And then no harm, no foul. Everything's good. Everything's good.
Number 4, federal case on 2020 election. 4 counts related to conspiring to obstruct the 2020 election results. Planned trial date unclear. What happened last week? We don't expect movement in this case until the Supreme Court rules on Trump's claim that presidential immunity from criminal prosecution extends to his alleged actions around January 6th. And that is your update on the 4 cases that Donald Trump's facing. So big one to watch today, Michael Cohen. And again, remember, the Trump trials are not on television. So, and the transcripts are not released for about 30 hours after the day's proceedings take place. So you're going to rely on the reporters in that room. And based upon how you feel about the New York Times, the Washington Post, those types of things, you can read their coverage today. But we'll get an update tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have Chris Murray in again tomorrow morning to give us an update on how it went with Michael Cohen today. But big news to watch out of that case. Let's go to the phone lines here. Good morning, Dwayne. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Shoveling out of 17 inches of snow yesterday up here.
Oh, no. That's awful.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
17 inches in Divide?
Well, at my place.
Yeah.
It was really quite fun. I got out the flamethrower and I was like, screw this. And melted quite a bit. I was very happy with the whole thing. Of course, the neighbors were like, oh, my God, it's the flamethrower again. I'm like, what tree? It's all snow. We're going to be fine. Yeah. So,
Oh, that's great.
That's good for the water. We're going to have good water this summer.
We were 243% above average up here in my place. So I'm very happy with the snow factor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You get old, you start doing all the weather stuff.
Yeah.
And this morning I was disappointed because in Brazil I saw there was a low pressure system going on the western coast. So I'm like very disturbed. Anyway, as far as what's going on in the courts, couple of things with the Hamas people, the pro terrorists. Wouldn't that be considered a RICO as well because they have outside people inside trying to get everything going? That would be a conspiracy thing, but I won't step there. However, today with Michael Cohen coming in, it'll be very interesting to sit there and see John Lovitz going, yeah, that's the ticket. I gave money to Morgan Fairchild and Stormy Daniels, and I was telling him what I was doing. And so, we're going to have to sit there and see this become nothing more than a,
Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah, a festival of pus while they just drag, the president through the mud. And of course, Trump, he's a New Yorker. It's like, what? That's all you got? Come on, give me a little bit here. I can do something. Come on, he's working it.
A little Joe Pesci.
He's working it. And he's doing what he does. And as far as musical things go, Macklemore's song, not the thrift shop, but the first one, the very long one, the heist.
Yep.
Oh. Little man and I recharge that one up before he goes on the bus. The school hates it because he comes off the bus ready to, take a chainsaw to the head of a
Run
Ferrari.
through a brick wall, huh?
Oh, yeah. He chainsaw across the head of a Ferrari. He's all set and amped up, ready to go. And they're like, you're giving him too much sugar. I said, no, it's red dye number 475. And he loves it. So that's what I do. All right, a little bit lighter. Let's get a Monday going. It's a great week. Nice. Gentlemen, as always, glad you guys had moms. Ours is in a facility with ALZ, and she doesn't even know who we are. So we just kind of miss that. Well, the thing I don't understand is she's got 80% clogging on both carotid arteries, and she's still going.
Wow.
She's been nicknamed Timex by the people at the facility.
Yeah, I bet. Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Like,
at least she's still with you.
92. 92, we went over and saw her, and it was like, we love you. I know. and I hate you very much. And it was like, well,
Yeah.
maybe we're not the people you need to talk to today. So we do what we do. Gentlemen, it's a week.
have a good
Let's
day.
watch Michael Cohen come in. And of course, I can't wait to hear. I gave Stormy Daniels $25,000 to sit there and show me pictures of her feet. And we'll have a lot of fun with Michael Cohen today.
Dwayne,
Thanks. Have a good day.
Appreciate the call. Man, he started off the Monday morning with a lot of energy.
He is. He's up there with me and the coffee. I like this.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Yeah, wonderful.
Want to talk to you all about American financing. Despite everything the Fed has been trying, we're still feeling the effects of inflation. Filling up your car, grocery shopping, home repairs, even the flowers you bought your mom over the weekend. Everything is more expensive. And most of you are paying these bills with a credit card. Credit card debt is at an all-time high. That is bad news. It's a bad cycle to be in. If you're a homeowner, there is a way out. You need to call my friends at American Financing. They can put together a plan to pay off that high-interest credit card debt and create meaningful savings for you every month. They're saving people just like you an average of $854 a month and closing in as fast as 10 days. Don't wait. Get yourself into a better position. Call their salary-based mortgage consultants today. It costs nothing to get started. And if you start today, you can delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you greater savings up front. American Financing can help get that credit card monkey off your back. American Financing, 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000, AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334, consumeraccess.org. All right, when we come back, update on some of these campus protests. And then Nancy Pelosi did a debate at Oxford. Yes, you heard that right. Nancy Pelosi engaged in a debate at Oxford. We'll be covering that as well.
You know she debated?
Oh, yeah, guy from Mumford.
Yeah, dude, they used to be in Mumford and Sons.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, you're like selling Nancy, and I'm like, but it's the Mumford and Sons dude. Sorry, that was the part I was excited about. I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. Yeah, it's going to be neat.
And he was a rager, man. He was a raging conservative in that debate.
It was very interesting.
They debated populism. We'll get into that and more in the 7 o'clock hour. And then 8 o'clock hour, a reminder, yet on Friday, we sent a list of demands to Mayor Mike Johnston. We're gonna refresh that and continue to press until he responds with taquitos and margarita Tuesdays.
Yeah, I don't have my margarita yet.
And then Joe Biden has made a $7.5 billion investment in charging stations. Guess how many they've built? We'll give you that and more in the 9 o'clock hour. It's going to be a full show. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said that Israel has broken international humanitarian law in a number of instances, and that the United States remains opposed to the country's ongoing military operations in Rafah. Blinken said that without a credible plan to protect civilians, the U.S. would continue to hold back weapons deliveries to Israel. The Secretary of State also said that Israel had also failed to provide a plan for peace in the region after the war is over. The comments come days after Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his country would stand alone and fight with fingernails in Gaza if needed. At least 41 people have been killed after flash floods and cold lava flowing from a volcano hit the western Indonesian island of Sumatra. A team of rescuers on rubber boats are looking for the missing victims and to transport people to shelters, with at least 17 people still missing. Laura Westbrook has more from Hong Kong.
Hours of heavy rain on Saturday caused flooding and swept ash and rocks down Mount Merapi. That's the most active volcano in Sumatra. It also triggered something called cold lava, which is a mixture of volcanic material and pebbles that flows down a volcano in the rain. Roads were cut off and villages in the area were devastated.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, giving you an update on the campus protests happening around the country. Graduates, this from the New York Times, graduates across the country showed their opposition to the war in Gaza this weekend, walking out of commencement speeches, draping themselves in Palestinian flags, and chanting their demands to divest from Israel. Do you think these kids recognize that if they lived in Palestine, they wouldn't really have educational opportunities?
No, not really. And I think the one that's more ironic for me is the offer from the University of Iran. Or like anybody that gets expelled there in America, you can come and study at the University of Iran. And I went, wait a minute. You understand that if you do the same thing in Iran that you did here to get thrown out, you get thrown in jail and you do not come out.
Right.
If you come out ever.
It's like, look at Brittany Griner. Look at one of your idols and what happens to her in a country like that.
Yeah, I just looked at that and I'm like, wait, does anybody take them up on the offer? Because that's like that was extreme irony. And and I think a lot of them don't understand it. And I heard a perspective over the weekend that made me think a little bit. And they said, back in the day during the Vietnam protests, a lot of the kids that were out there didn't know the history of the conflict in Vietnam. Didn't understand why we're taking over for the French, didn't understand what was happening beforehand. They were just mad about the people dying. And the perspective this person had is, as obtuse as these protesters are about history, their concern still is real. We can't invalidate it by the fact that they don't understand what they're protesting. However, the person did continue that this is an armed conflict that was not started in this instance, this particular attack, not started by the Israelis.
Right. There was a peace.
Yes.
There was a peace on October 6th.
Yes. And if you're going to start any sort of an armed conflict, we can even call it a war, don't get mad about one side doing everything they can to win. And it was a great perspective. It was like it was a validation of the people out there that were protesting. Yes, you have an issue. Yes, you're right. We're getting innocent people that are being killed, and there are awful conditions right now in Gaza, and there's going to be awful conditions in Rafah. However, also understand that we can acknowledge your perspective, but also understand how we got here. You don't have to be ignorant of the history, but we even only can go back a few months and look at how we got here. The side that first decided to kill a large number of Jewish citizens inside of the Jewish state. That's how we got here. And so it said the person basically was saying, well, they don't have to know the long history, but they can't be ignorant of the short history. It was a really, really good conversation. It was a nice way of a takedown of not disrespecting the protesters, but having them kind of looking at it saying a little more perspective is needed, that yes, you do have a point. However, the point you're trying to make and what you're demanding seems incongruent with the conflict that is going on right now. It was nice. It was really good.
New York Times continued, by and large, the ceremonies carried on this weekend. At Duke University, Jerry Seinfeld, the famed comedian who had lately taken a public stance in support of Jews in the United States and Israel, received an honorary degree and advised hundreds of graduates to maintain a sense of humor, which it was. We'll have clips of this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Amazing speech. While a few dozen protesters walked out in their caps and gowns to have their own ceremony, that made some of the news, but Jerry's speech was actually fantastic. He is a national treasure.
Yeah. Although I got to tell you, I get tired of these honorary degrees.
Right.
It's a bunch of crap.
My favorite is when people put them on their resumes.
Yes, exactly. This is the part that kills me. Okay. This is the part that kills me. There are a lot of kids in that audience that worked their tails off, that stayed up late nights and worked extra jobs, and their parents did everything they could to make sure they get across that line. And finally, on the graduation day, everything they've done, everything they've sacrificed, the guy on the stage got one for free just because he's famous. You're like,
famous
hey,
or a donor.
I know, but you're like, hey, hang on. You mean I could have I didn't have to do the college thing. I could have just gone off and been famous, and then you're just going to hand me the piece of paper? Just for me, it just invalidates the students. That's the part that kills me.
Spend the $345,000 becoming a TikTok star.
Yes, exactly.
As
Whatever
opposed
it is.
to getting a degree from Columbia, and they'll just give you the honorary degree later.
It invalidates the effort of everybody sitting in the audience. Okay.
So that gets you going. All right.
Yeah.
What
so mad.
What gets me
is
when attorneys ask to be called doctors.
Oh.
Because it's a Juris Doctorate.
Yeah.
And I've run into a handful of these where they go, no, I'm Dr. Hunt.
Yeah.
Because I got a law degree. I'm like, you are not a doctor. You are not even close to, and you got, in fact, I got a 4-year or 3-year MDiv and then another master's degree. I have more education than most attorneys, and I can't call myself a doctor.
Yeah.
So
my mom actually holds a doctorate, but it's in English. And she doesn't go around saying, call me doctor. She doesn't. And she actually gets somewhat embarrassed when people do.
In the university setting, like, I think it's respectful.
Oh, yeah. Academic,
academically, but walking around.
Oh, yeah, walking around. She never does anything like that. And she's actually a little embarrassed, and very rarely, even in the university situation, does she use it. There's certain times, certain groups that, but more times than not, no.
At Emerson College in Boston, where more than 100 protesters were arrested less than 3 weeks ago, some students used their walks across the stage as moments of individual protest, removing their gowns or displaying signs, sometimes to cheers and often to loud boos from the families watching from the stands. They should be booed.
Yeah. Again, for me,
get your degree.
Well, the thing for me is that, again, the families cheering and disrupting that is more annoying to me than you doing something walking across the stage. You want to do something walking across the stage, as long as it is not overtly offensive involving nudity or something like that, go ahead. You want to hold up a sign? Fine. You want to moonwalk across the stage backwards? Fine. It's your moment. I will give you grace for that 12 seconds to act a fool. And as long as it doesn't involve nudity or anything offensive. You want to pick up a sign, something that I completely and totally disagree with? Fine. It's your moment. You worked 4 years. You get to walk across that stage, get your degree. If that's what you get to do, fine. Again, no nudity, nothing offensive. You don't get to flip off the audience. Don't get to do that.
At the University of Minnesota, several students receiving diplomas unfurled banners with pro-Palestinian messages like "Students for Palestine" and "Let Gaza Live." The graduations capped a tumultuous few weeks on college campuses as students mounted pro-Palestinian protests and encampments, and in many places, the police removed them. College administrators prepared for potential disruptions with increased security, strict ticketing systems, designated free speech zones, and even requests that students open their gowns for inspection. I got a story to tell you about my gown.
Pomona I'm a little worried about this.
Pomona College, where pro-Palestinian students have announced a protest targeting the ceremony, moved the location of its commencement after demonstrators set up an encampment on the stage where the student was supposed where the event was supposed to be held.
I'm sorry, but you set up an encampment on the stage where the event was supposed to be held. I'm going to go Monty Burns on you and just say, release the hounds.
Yeah.
Go ahead, because there is so much time and effort. I have zero empathy. You can set up your little encampment outside. That's fine. We can all walk by you and you can make your statement there. You don't get to disrupt what we are doing. Did you see the protests, the Israelis that tried to disrupt Walt Disney World over the weekend?
No.
Yeah, that didn't last very long, oddly enough. Weird, huh? Yeah, they did the whole thing about getting the banners and they blocked the road. And the police in like 15, 20 minutes, police said, no, done, but you're out. And they're like, no, but we get to. No, no, you don't. No, you don't. I don't understand. You don't mess with the mouse. This is not, you're not allowed to do that here. No. And I saw some of the banners, and I'm sorry, guys, protest. Your banners suck. This is awful. That's the best you could do. You're college graduates, and that's the best you can do. You want protest banners? Come look at soccer. We know how to do protest banners. Big ones. All sorts of things on them. We can do protest banners. Yours are childish little attempts. You stink at it. You're not any good. I have no respect.
Speaking of protest banners, 4944, my favorite is Queers for Palestine. Do you understand that Hamas would toss them off the highest building?
Yes,
for being gay? Yeah, that intellectual That's because it's rooted in that kind of Marxist thinking of we're oppressed, you're oppressed, we're all together, intersectionality.
Yeah.
And
There's
no,
the fact that I can empathize with you because of what you're going through. But yeah, they need to understand that those individuals that you're offering empathy and support for would not offer it to you. And that should be important in the relationship. You can say that you understand what they're going through without supporting them. Understand very clearly, because they would not ever support you in your choices, ever.
Lisa from Castle Rock. Good morning. My father had a doctorate in chemistry. He wouldn't use the doctor, especially on a plane. In an emergency, he didn't want someone to think he could save their lives.
Absolutely. Very smart. Ooh,
smart.
Chemistry doctor. Man, that's big brain stuff.
Oh man, that was the hardest class I took in high school.
Oh, that was hardest. That thing crushed me. And I that was the one where I was in there, and it was honors chemistry, and I'm in after class almost every day, but before going to soccer practice, and I'm scraping by, and it was a nun that was teaching the class, and I barely passed. And then there were some things later on in my academic career in which what I learned in the class, weirdly enough, stuck and really worked later on. And I was able to come back and celebrate with her and go, look. And she goes, and at one point I showed her some scores, and she looked at me and she goes, really? I'm like, I know. I'm as surprised as you are. And she goes, it actually stuck, didn't it? I'm like, yeah, it actually did. I go, I have no idea what happened. And so she and I shared a big hug, but it was really cool. Yeah.
Doug, do you guys see, it's a text message from Doug, did you guys see the Friends episode where Rachel was giving birth? They reached the hospital and Ross introduces himself as Dr. Geller. And Rachel corrected him. Ross, stop it. That means something here.
Exactly. And then, kidney stones. Love that episode.
Guys, I want to talk to you about QC Kinetics. Are you tired of living with constant back pain robbing you of the joy in life? You're not alone. Back pain affects millions, impacting quality of life, but there's hope. My friends at QC Kinetics Denver offer regenerative medical treatments. These are non-surgical, drug-free solutions. As we age, lower back pain becomes common, from muscle strains to herniated discs. Symptoms like muscle aches and shooting pain can worsen with movement. Why risk surgery? That's like a last resort, guys, when there's a safer option. With no downtime and a free consultation, QC Kinetics often provides same-day treatment. Visit my friends at QC Kinetics and revolutionize your approach to lower back pain. Call 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986, or visit painfreecolorado.com to schedule your free consultation today. And be sure to tell them Jeff sent you. Guys, I'm very active. I've run ultra marathons. Movement is key. My mom, 76 years old, still swims every single day. It's about movement. That's how you get to live a good, healthy, long-lasting life. And QC Kinetics is a non-surgery alternative that can hopefully help get rid of some of that pain and keep you moving. So check them out. Visit painfreecolorado.com or call 303-900-8986. We'll continue up next. You choose the news. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Could be good Trump pump-up music. Dude walks out. Let's do You Choose the News, Bill.
Yes, it is that time of the morning again when we play everybody's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. I have scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find really dumb stories, because that's honestly how long it takes. We've added dumb headlines on top of that to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Because, well, the people in charge have no idea we're doing it. They don't wake up until 7 o'clock in the morning, so we have 9 more minutes. Oh, no, 8 more minutes. We got to move quickly here. Of course, Jeff Hunt and Blake Olson from the newsroom will be choosing our stories this morning. Alrighty, gentlemen, here are your headlines. Headline number 1, could the cartoon have been right? Headline number 2, what a bargain. Headline number 3, no good deed goes unpunished. And headline number 4, just like that Elvis song. All righty, Mr. Hunt, your choice.
Let's start with the Elvis song.
Yeah, just like that Elvis song. Omar is the subject of our conversation this morning. He was originally a Kurd. He left Kurdistan a few years ago and is a refugee in France because of what was going on in his home country. He was tired of the squalid conditions in that refugee camp, so he decided to scrape together his money and paid a smuggler to get him into Britain. He was there for 20 months. While there, his asylum claim was rejected and he had some medical issues. So he's now paid that same smuggler to get him back out of the country and back into the refugee camp in France. So just like the Elvis song, it is return to sender. He is going back home. I just love that. The thing, though, is that he was charged almost $15,000 to get him into Britain, to get back out, about $500. tells you which one is much more difficult.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, much easier to get you out of Britain. Alrighty, Mr. Hunt, your second choice this morning, sir. Could the cartoon have been right? What a bargain, or no good deed goes unpunished?
Let's do the cartoon.
Yeah, could the cartoon have been right? You'll remember back in the Jetsons, there was something amazing that they used to have, and that was not the flying cars, the 4-day work week. And some large companies are actually experimenting with that now. In fact, Kellanova, the umbrella company over Kellogg's and Pringles, has implemented a summer policy, but not for you, only for those in England right now, that you can knock off work at noon on Friday as long as you make up the hours elsewhere in the week.
So the hours are still the same.
Yeah, the hours are still the same, but they're allowing you to leave at 12 o'clock on Fridays. They're saying that the problem is Friday afternoons, productivity absolutely craters. It craters. So they find that the productivity is actually increased if you allow people to take that time off. In fact, Kellanova has implemented a no meetings on Friday rule.
Wow.
You cannot have any meetings.
Worse.
Yeah, just
Do
absolutely
you know
worse.
what the biblical work week is? It's 6 days.
All the time. Yeah.
You get 1 day off.
Yeah, all the time.
You can thank the unions for Saturdays off.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, unions. Yeah. And in fact, they're looking at shorter work weeks. They're going and studying the concept of what's called 100-80-100. The idea is you get 100% salary for working 80% of the hours as long as you still produce 100% of the productivity. That's been one of the arguments that we've had recently, is that we haven't seen base wages increase as fast as productivity has increased. And we always have this argument from the businesses that, hey, we can't give a raise unless we see productivity increase, which is crap because they never give raises when productivity increases. So it's a BS argument. But if you could work 80% of the hours and still produce 100% of your work, why not? Why not allow someone that ability? Again, we'll have this conversation later about whether or not it is your work is a work product function or if it's a time-based job. But oh well. Hey, Blake Olson in the newsroom. Your final choice this morning, sir. What a bargain, or no good deed goes unpunished.
What a bargain.
Yes, what a bargain. The Department of Homeland Security has opened an investigation because the Akron Police Department went bargain shopping for their body armor. Yeah, probably not a good thing. Turns out that body armor came from China and is not rated as actually being effective. Here's the issue. One of these body armor plates can cost $1,300. So buying the fake body armor is a lot of money. And now the Akron Police Department is looking for funding to have to replace the mistake they made. I'm just saying, for things like buying body armor, LASIK surgery, brain surgery. No, don't use a coupon. Yeah, you do not want to go bargain shopping for those. If you have to enter a coupon when scheduling your brain surgery, maybe a different brain surgeon. It's just an idea. I don't know, but yeah.
What's the point of creating body armor that doesn't work?
to get people that don't know what they're doing to buy it. Yes, it's all about the fraud. Well, that is it. That is the end of You Choose the News. As always, I am a giant loser while Jeff and Blake are your winners. And this is probably not sponsored by Roll 'Em Out Shelves. They are a legit company, mother-son team. They will organize that clutter in your home under any kitchen sink, cabinet, anything else. See their work and get your free home estimate today at rollemoutshelves.com. Back to you, sir.
Just booking my Roll 'Em Out Shelves right now. You're listening to Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Seven a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and sometimes a little loony. It's going to be a great day in America, and we are gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions and critical analysis. Most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Phone lines are open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. This is where we want you to be part of the conversation. So feel free to call or text in. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Bill. 45 and mostly sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the lower 70s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Denver Public Schools says that there will be increased security at East High School today after threats were made on social media. Denver police and DPS investigating the threats and say the increased security is a safety precaution. One person is dead following a fiery Sunday night crash on Santa Fe where a wrong-way driver lost control and crashed. First responders say the vehicle was engulfed in flames when they arrived and the driver was pronounced dead at the scene. It isn't clear whether the driver died from the crash or the fire. Dozens of walkouts at college graduations over the weekend as Hamas supporters continue to try and create more chaos. At DU, Hamas supporters have met with the administration for the first time, giving a list of demands.
How about new?
At Duke's graduation, a group of students walked out during comedian Jerry Seinfeld's commencement address.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
I mean, it's fine if that's who you are.
Absolutely.
About 60 Rutgers students walked out of their graduation ceremony with a similar scene playing out on the West Coast at UC Berkeley, and state media like CNN saying that President Biden shouldn't be criticized for not sending precision munitions to Israel because Reagan kind of did the same thing. Senator Tom Cotton setting them straight over the weekend.
Ronald Reagan's decision to pause the delivery of fighter jets in the 1980s was totally different from what's happened here. Israel is fighting a war of survival against a terrorist group that committed the worst atrocity against Jews since World War II. In the 1980s, an Israeli ambassador had been targeted for assassination.
Former President Trump's campaign derailment trial resumes in New York. Former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen expected to take the stand. Over the weekend, Trump campaigned in New Jersey in front of 100,000 supporters.
If my plane flies over a blue state, the following day I get subpoenaed to go before a grand jury.
J.D. Vance on CNN.
The only thing that Alvin Bragg, the New York prosecutors team, thinks Donald Trump did wrong is that he ran for president in 2024 and he looks to be on the cusp of victory. That is the only thing that this is ultimately about. This is about the fact that President Joe Biden has a failed record as commander-in-chief and leader of this country, and the Democrats can't talk about that. So what they're doing is putting these trials out there and saying, focus on this, not on the fact that the world is on fire and the fact that you have gotten poorer under the presidency of Joe Biden.
All right, the fun continues in Manhattan in just minutes. One person is dead and 5 others injured in a single vehicle crash in Larimer County. It happened Saturday night near Larimer County Road 4, where an SUV with 6 people inside lost control and flipped over. All 6 victims were taken to a hospital where one of them later died. Investigators say alcohol is being investigated as a possible cause of the crash. Actor Steve Buscemi is on the mend after being randomly punched in Manhattan. Police say the 66-year-old star was walking Wednesday when someone slugged him in the face. The Boardwalk Empire and Sopranos actor was treated for bruises and a bloody eye.
Edwards lost the ball with a turnover. Nice Denver D. Porter at the other end, and he tries and he gets it to go. Beating the clock. Court length. That's intercepted. Murray good at the goal. Got it. A big time 3.
Those 4 or 5 seconds were incredible. Jamal Murray hit a half-court 3 after stealing a pass, and then he launched it near Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller on the broadcast table. A 5-point turnaround in fewer than basically 2 seconds last night, right before the halftime buzzer. Game 4 of the NBA Western Conference semifinals, and the Nuggets even the series with the T-Wolves at 2 games apiece. Series returns to Denver tomorrow night. The Joker had 35. Aaron Gordon had 27. He was incredible. Murray had 19. Anthony Edwards for the T-Wolves, 44 points. The Avalanche try to tie their series with the Stars tonight at 2 apiece at Ball Arena. They drop the puck at 7:30. It's 40 in Arvada, 42 in Lone Tree, and 45 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast is calling for a mixed bag this weekend weather-wise. Some sun, some clouds, and some scattered afternoon and evening shower and thunderstorm activity at times. Expect partly cloudy skies, upper 50s today with afternoon showers and a few thunderstorms near 40 tonight. Partly to mostly cloudy, upper 60s Saturday, afternoon and evening thunderstorms. 60s and lower 70s Sunday and Monday with afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms both days. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
So Nancy Pelosi engaged in a debate at Oxford. This was really cool.
Yeah.
So, Bill, I
This
thought
is
you and
interesting.
I would like this because we were both debate guys.
It's really cool.
Right? I only competed in like a handful of ones in college, but you were a big debate guy.
Yeah. I was.
Would you say you're a master at debating?
Some people, yes. Some people would. Yeah. I was the high school speech and debate team captain, actually. I know.
Wow, captain.
Yeah, I know.
I every morning for 4 hours have to go up against the Mullen High School debate captain.
Yeah, it actually was kind of cool.
I feel
Senior
like
year
that should have been shared with me in our
senior year. I was the captain of the speech and debate team and the soccer team, which is kind of cool. Yeah. So I was
starting
involved.
To get the sense of what kind of guy you were in high school.
I was involved in 2 groups that were ostracized by a lot of people. Yeah.
Hey, it paid off.
It did.
So there's a few reasons why I love this. One, Oxford does these really cool debates and they bring in big names to participate in them, right? Ben Shapiro's been part of them. In this case, Nancy Pelosi. I got to give props to Nancy Pelosi because I didn't think she would ever do something like this. We invited a ton of Democrats all the time to come to CCU to debate stuff, and they never came. Never, just wouldn't. And why would they, right? They have total control. It just puts them in the direction of the state, puts them out there to potentially lose the battle of ideas. So they're not going to put themselves there. We asked them to debate gun issues, Israel issues, all that stuff. Never heard from them.
Yeah.
So the fact Nancy Pelosi is pretty much at the end of her career too.
Yeah. And the fact that she's still a seated politician was the thing that got me. It's like, wait a minute. I would have thought we'd have some sort of commentator, some sort of a talking heads that we'd see all the time on the cable news or someone that writes all the editorials. But the fact that she, as a sitting lawmaker, went and did this, I'm like, wow.
And then her husband was sitting there.
Yeah,
and considering what happened to him a few years ago, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, it looked really good.
So the Oxford Union hosts these debates and they really value free speech. And this takes me into like what I love about Parliament in England and you know, the idea that they roast each other and they debate and they say things that are offensive. And I don't know if you watched all of the response, Winston Marshall's response.
Yeah.
He was a little offensive, but right at the beginning, with the change of words, but it's fun to watch. So they debate what's called a motion.
Yeah.
And the motion was this House believes populism is a threat to democracy.
Yeah. And what I like about this is, as far as the debate is, to me, this pulls it away from policy and more into value debate. This is closer to Lincoln Douglas in execution, because they're not talking about functionally. They're not talking about how much money is going to go here, or what happens if we make this choice and these are our allies, or what about joining NATO or not being in NATO. This is about the functionality of NATO. This is about the functionality of democracy and populism. And in conflict, how do they resolve? It was a fascinating, it's a more of a value debate than it is a policy debate, which I really enjoy because there's a lot more leeway in what you can do.
So they dress up in tuxedos.
Yes.
It's a formal night in Oxford. They face each other. So one side sits and faces the other side, and a representative from the side gets up to debate, and you hear the jeers and you hear the challenges and all that stuff.
So neat.
So here's Nancy Pelosi on populism.
We've given them to them, but they're blocked by some of their views on guns. They have the 3 Gs, guns, gays, God. That would be a woman's right to choose. And the cultural issues cloud some of their reception of an argument that really is in their interest. I don't agree with you that we don't accuse people of not knowing what they're doing. They know what their personal interest is. We respect that. But the fact is that using whether it's people different from me, nationalism, populism, is a very dangerous threat to democracy, not just in America where we're seeing it play out, but in the whole world.
So her argument is that populism has devolved into ethno-nationalism, and is a threat to the nation, is a threat to other people, is a threat to our rights. And we'll get into this in a second, but this idea that it's been co-opted. And what was fascinating to me in this debate was to watch how the parties have shifted so much.
Yeah.
So I worked for Mitt Romney in 2012. What was the downfall of Mitt Romney's presidential campaign? The 47% comment.
Yeah.
Right? 47% are going to vote no matter what. It doesn't matter. And it was kind of came across as elitist.
Yep.
And here you have a guy that, Harvard MBA, Harvard JD.
And I would say the basket of deplorables comment by Hillary is in the same category.
Right.
Yeah. Didn't sink it, but it hurt a lot. Yeah.
Right. When you kind of come across as elitist. And in this debate, and we'll play some more clips of it, but in this debate, Nancy Pelosi absolutely came across, from my perspective, as very elitist. And the Democrat Party used to be the populist party and used to embrace it. And
well, the original populist movement was adopted by the Democrat Party. It was external, but the original populists were the Democrats. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And Winston Marshall, who's her debate opponent. Now, this guy is interesting. You may know more about him than I do, but he's a musician who was once part of Mumford and Sons.
Yeah, banjo player. Yeah.
And came across as very conservative in this. I don't know much about him. Do you know much about his personal life?
I don't know about politics, and because that's the thing for me is the world of music is a safe space, and I use that intentionally.
Interesting. That's how you see it.
Yeah,
huh?
it should be devoid, and you can with bands. Bands can take a political bend. You can do political songs, absolutely, but I disagree many times when the actual artists come out and they voice their opinion. I think Tom Morello, the guitarist for Rage Against the Machine, is a mad scientist, although I disagree with some things that he's on politically. I think he's way too far left. I think he makes some points in certain areas way too far left. Aaron Lewis of Stained, I think, is too far right on times, and I don't like the idea of them bringing it out. How this show, one of the germinations for the show is the idea of Taylor Swift and her politics. I bristle at that because that is not our relationship. I understand that you have that idea, but the relationship that we have is not built on that. So, yeah.
Speaking of debates, Corey, a friend of the show, Bill, you just ratified my respect for you. I was a debate nerd in high school. National Forensic League and
NFL Extemp. Oh, my man.
Speaking.
Dude. Oh, Corey, we should go back. Extemp was my jam. Man, that was really good. I learned from some really, really good Extemp speakers, and I still lean on a lot of stuff for that. That, to me, is an incredible talent that is underappreciated and undervalued. The extemporaneous speaking talent is fantastic. Oh, it was so much fun.
So Pelosi making the argument that populism becomes a threat to democracy, and she points primarily to January 6th.
Yeah.
But populism in the version of Andrew Jackson, which was described here, is not the threat that we are talking about. That's part of it. But the fact that's so sad is a misrepresentation of people who exploit the populist attitude of, I want to have my say, and then use it to get elected and then hurt those people the most.
No, one of the things on that I watched is Nancy's kind of like me. She talks with her hands. I
didn't know.
Yes, I didn't know how much she talks and wiggles her hands about it, because I've always seen her in these very, just say the performances. It's more performative. And here she seemed to be more herself. I had no idea she was a hand talker. I'm like, hey, she's like me. I just thought that was funny.
So the irony I found in that statement, irony, oh my gosh, Democrats, come on, guys, is this notion that she's critical of a political party co-opting people.
Yeah.
and not doing what's in their best interest. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the entire urban voting bloc, right? Has voted entirely for the last 60, 70, 80 years for Democrats. And they don't deliver anything to actually benefit them from my perspective.
And here's the thing is that if you go back and you look at some of the longer term history of populism, not talking about what now, but the longer arc of it, rarely do populist movements actually deliver to the people that bring them the power. Very rarely do they actually accomplish any of the things they claim to. And we can get into it later as far as why that happens, but it is a function of how populism works. So, but she's really, really bad at bringing that out. She should have come out rather, and I disagree with her on her focus constantly on the current iteration. I think she did a very bad job of explaining differences and what the negative is in this iteration as she sees it. I don't think she made her case very well on that side. Yeah.
We may have two duplicate ones here, Bill.
Oh, no. What does it
let me
say?
see. If this one either is populism as a threat to democracy or populism is democracy.
Let me see
two of those there.
But I don't know. Let me look.
She goes on to say that populism is a threat to democracy. Her main focus, look what happened with January 6th. People get motivated. They can become violent, and it actually becomes a threat. But she, in my perspective, in this debate, came across as incredibly elitist, out of touch. Here's a woman, literally San Francisco. And I may have put, it might be my fault. Is it my fault?
There's something, and I'm gonna have to check here. There's a fun thing about all the number of steps that I have to do to put things into the system, that if I do something and I click something wrong, it copies the file into the next file. So I think I've accidentally copied something. So let me behind the scenes here to find that third one from Nancy.
We'll see if we can get it. But basically, she says it's a threat to democracy. But here you have a woman from San Francisco with refrigerators that cost as much as our mortgage payments cost, and talking about how populism is a threat. And I'm just, there's a major shift, guys, happening in political parties right now. One of the biggest ones that could happen in America's future is how Republicans are embracing blue collar workers. We're not into the union categories and supporting that, but I've noticed from Mitt Romney to where we are today, a rejection of the old Chamber of Commerce Republicans, a rejection of the kind of elite country club Republicans, a comfortableness with blue collar workers. And I sat in these meetings, guys, following 2012, where Republicans said we need to expand our base into grassroots blue collar conservatives. Rick Santorum wrote a book right after the 2012 election talking about the blue collar conservatives. Then in 2016, you get Donald Trump. And I wrote this in August of 2016 about how Donald Trump tapped into the forgotten man. What did I mean by that? I was watching this was early on in the presidential races. I watched Donald Trump go do a rally with blue collar conservatives, coal miners in West Virginia. And they loved him. And I'm sitting there going, Donald Trump, the billionaire from Manhattan with a gold toilet, the TV star, that guy is connecting with blue collar conservatives. What is going on here? And so the article I wrote was about the fall or how Donald Trump tapped into the forgotten man. And you had this big opportunity, particularly in the Rust Belt, in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, where Donald Trump was tapping into something that Mitt Romney, John McCain, George H.W. Bush couldn't tap into, right? And so that was a unique movement. And now the parties are really splitting, where I think the Democrats are becoming much more elitist. Republicans are becoming much more grassroots. Here is Nancy Pelosi saying populism is a threat to democracy.
So, my friends, this is interesting academically, intellectually and the rest. But on the ground, populism, as the version that we see now, is a threat to democracy that's really hard to deny.
So that's Nancy Pelosi saying that populism is a threat to democracy. Now, the respondent, Winston Marshall, gives a very compelling speech, in my opinion. Populism is democracy.
Populism, as you know, is the politics of the ordinary people against an elite. Populism is not a threat to democracy. Populism is democracy. And why else have universal suffrage if not to keep elites in check?
This was an interesting take. I wanted to know, Bill, what you thought of his arguments, because here's where here's the sticky wicket, in my opinion. Okay.
Love how you did the English term there. That's great. Really good. Nicely done.
I am passionately 100% against the French Revolution.
Yeah.
And what happened there. Okay. Which was in many ways a populist revolt.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And it was, we are going to hang the king with the entrails of the priests.
Yep.
Right. It was, we are taking out all of the elites.
Yep.
The religious elites, the political elites, the business elites. Okay. I understand the frustration that people have with elites. But at the same time, when you look at what happened in those types of French revolutions, it was really bad. It was, there's a role for the elites. And he gets into that. During his debate, he says there's a role for the elites. But democracy itself is a check on the elites.
Yeah. And the thing is that Pelosi did a bad job of making the case as to why populism can be an antithesis to democracy. And Mr. Marshall there makes an assumption that doesn't always hold true based on populist movements. And the reason being that populism can work against democracy is because populism is an us versus them. And democracy has to be an us altogether. And that's the only way it really works. And as soon as you make it an us versus them, you then say, we don't need this group anymore, and they don't need to have the certain rights. And now this is going to be an extreme analogy, and understand that. However, I'm pretty certain that we could assemble people on both the far right and the far left of the political spectrum, that we could convince that the people that are in the opposite political party should not be allowed to vote because they're the ones messing it up. And they would go, absolutely. If they weren't voting, this country would be perfect. Both far sides would see that. They would be involved in a populist movement, but they would absolutely support the movement to prevent the opposition from having a voice. That's where populism normally begins to fail. And that's the danger behind it, because it has to be an us versus them. And once you invalidate them, you can't have a conversation with them. They can't be allowed at the table to have anything go forward. That's the danger involved in it.
Right. So someone was asking for a definition of populism. Here's from the Oxford Language Dictionary: a political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel their concerns are disregarded by established elite groups.
It's very, very good. Hugo Chavez. Very populist leader type of thing. Very.
Oh, yeah.
Very much
what happened
populist.
in Venezuela
exactly.
and the takeover of the oil companies
and you
and all that stuff.
In fact, the original, and this is the thing, is when you talk about, hey, Donald Trump's a great populist, remember, the core of the populism, many ways, was to take control of some of the corporations out there. The one that we don't have control of that the populists really wanted was transportation. They want state control of railroads, state control of busing, state control of airlines. If you're really a populist, at the core of what they were looking at, you want American Airlines to no longer exist. It should be the USA Airlines and the government should run it. That's one of the core populist pushes originally.
So conservatism as a political philosophy embraces natural hierarchy. So we don't see any problem with the fact that there are just naturally smarter people. They tend to coalesce wealth. And in doing so, we think that there's an added benefit to society. So we're not, it's the left that looks at wealthy people and goes, we need to bring them down a notch in order to address the oppressor versus oppressed kind of issue that takes place.
But that view would not be populist. Would not be the idea of hierarchy and that we can concentrate the wealth.
Right.
Yeah, we cannot do that. That would not be a populist view. And that's why it's interesting to see a candidate for the GOP run more as a populist than as a conservative.
Right, because naturally it doesn't fit there. So this critique that's been taking place in the Republican Party against the elites, against the WHO, against Davos, against all that stuff.
Against the universities, whatever it is, school boards.
Historically has not been there.
No.
Now Reagan was more of a blue collar, but George H.W. Bush, come on. Yale,
both
I mean, all those guys, right? Yeah,
both of them are
Skull and Bones.
Well, that's actually the weirdest thing. Okay, I'm a side note here. That is one of the weirdest things in this anti-intellectualism push, especially in the protests now, is that we're hearing from a lot of politicians complaining, especially about the Ivy Leagues and what has happened and how they're indoctrinating all these people.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, a number of the conservatives also went to those same Ivy League schools. Oddly enough,
and would be very happy to send their kids there again.
Yes, exactly. The same ones that they're saying are awful, horrible, slime-ridden places where all these liberals are coming out of, they have that diploma on their wall too. So some of these people complaining, it's more politics than real, but that's okay. Always is.
So the debate continues. Here's Winston Marshall about how the left has become against populism. The left has become against populism.
Concerns of ordinary people being otherwise ignored by the establishment. I'm actually rather surprised that our esteemed opposition, Congressman Pelosi, is on that side of the motion. I thought the left was supposed to be anti-elite. I thought the left was supposed to be anti-establishment. Today, particularly in America, the globalist left have become the establishment. I suppose for Ms. Pelosi to have taken this side of the motion, she'd be arguing herself out of a job.
That is so good. That is really good. And he makes I think it's after this one or the next clip, he does make a statement that I'm like, ooh, he meant it as a dig, but I'm like, oh, you're closer to the truth than you think, my boy. You're much closer. He makes a comment about Pelosi, all of a sudden, how they're becoming the institutionalists and everything else, and she'll be arguing it. He goes, the next thing we'd see is the conservative party become the monarchists. And I'm like, ooh, you're pretty close.
Yeah,
you're
right.
Really close because of things like Viktor Orban. You're really close with things like Donald Trump saying he's going to be a dictator on day one. You're really close when you have people that show up at Trump rallies saying, I would be fine if Donald Trump was a dictator to fix this country for a while. So you're real close. You're real close to being monarchists. And he didn't get that. It whooshed by. He thought it was a dig. And I'm like, oh, you're closer than you think, buddy.
So our political parties, I hosted a great speaker at CCU on this. I'm trying to remember his name. He does the almanac, the Congressional Almanac.
Oh, cool.
Brilliant guy, studied all the districts, right? Yeah. So this guy could talk about Ken Buck's district. From Washington, D.C., you could talk about Doug Lamborn's district, all that. He's done the research on this. The Republican and Democrat parties are two of the three oldest parties in world history.
Yeah.
And his argument is they change and adapt. That's why.
Yep, absolutely.
So the Republicans today look different than the Republicans of the early 2000s. The Democrats today look different than the Democrats of the early 2000s because they adjust. And what you are experiencing right now is that change happening.
Oh, and some people that are listening right now have experienced that change in their lifetime.
Yeah.
And you look at Nixon and the Southern strategy,
right.
Where you have two parties diametrically taking one side and inside of a decade, flip 180 degrees on both sides. Absolutely.
Yeah. This is what gives me hope about urban communities.
Yeah.
Because Republicans used to be the party of African Americans.
Yeah.
That's literally how we were founded.
Yeah.
Right. And for the last 50 or 60 years, we completely lost that.
Well, the civil rights thing kind of hurt the thing.
And we supported it. Republicans supported the civil rights more than the Democrats did. But
again, Nixon Southern strategy. That answers the question. That absolutely answers the question.
So I have hope, and I actually think Donald Trump can deliver this more so than any other Republican that exists right now. Better support from urban communities.
Really?
I think the Black community is more open to supporting Donald Trump than they would have John McCain, Mitt Romney, George W. Bush.
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Because he argues that the system's rigged, and they go, I identify with that.
but he's not arguing that he's going to fix it. That's the issue. And so I'm curious about that. Like, yeah,
we'll get to that. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Michael Barone, yes, 6823. Thank you. That is exactly who I was talking about. He does the Congressional Almanac. We hosted him for a lecture at CCU, did a great job. But that notion that parties adjust and shift, give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Do you see it? Do you see the party shifting the way I see it? Where the Republican Party of Mitt Romney, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, John McCain has shifted. And in many ways, some of those guys have gone on to endorse Democrats, whereas Republicans are now more blue collar, grassroots. And I think urban communities are more open. Black, Hispanic communities are more open to supporting Donald Trump than some of the previous Republicans. I'll play this audio when we come back. His dig against media was amazing. I want to talk to you about Colorado Christian University. Do you have a high school student considering their college plans? Are they ready to discover more about their gifts and talents? Do you hope to see them become part of the next generation of Christian leaders? Your student is invited to Colorado Christian University's Discovery Preview. This is a week-long event, and it's completely free. Discovery Preview is designed for students who desire to seek God's purpose and calling in their lives. Students are immersed in the community, culture, and mission of CCU. Workshops focused on calling, career, and Christ-centered leadership help them explore their unique strengths, potential career options. CCU's Christ-centered community will even take the students on a Colorado adventure to experience the beauty of the Rocky Mountains. Eligible students can also qualify for a $1,250 annual scholarship for attending. Don't miss Discovery Preview this summer, June 17th through the 21st. The event is designed for juniors and seniors in high school. And again, it's absolutely free. To learn more, go to ccu.edu/discovery. That's ccu.edu/discovery. When we come back, I'm going to play this audio where he goes after the media and their rejection of populism as well, and even democracy. You're not going to miss it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. At least 41 people have been killed after flash floods and cold lava flowing from a volcano hit the western Indonesian island of Sumatra. A team of rescuers on rubber boats are looking for the missing victims and to transport people to shelters, with at least 17 people still missing. Laura Westbrook has more from Hong Kong.
Hours of heavy rain on Saturday caused flooding and swept ash and rocks down Mount Merapi. That's the most active volcano in Sumatra. It also triggered something called cold lava, which is a mixture of volcanic material and pebbles that flows down a volcano in the rain. Roads were cut off and villages in the area were devastated.
Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said that Israel has broken international humanitarian law in a number of instances, and that the United States remains opposed to the country's ongoing military operations in Rafah. Blinken said that without a credible plan to protect civilians, the U.S. would continue to hold back weapons deliveries to Israel. The Secretary of State also said that Israel had also failed to provide a plan for peace in the region after the war is over. The comments come days after Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his country would stand alone and fight with fingernails in Gaza if needed. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Nancy Pelosi engaged in a debate with a former banjo player from Mumford & Sons. This was one of the formal Oxford debates. We played audio of Nancy's position. If you missed that, go to 710 KNUS. Here was Marshall's kind of closing argument against the media, showing how America's media has really turned even against democracy.
What about the mainstream media? Let me read you some mainstream media headlines. The New Yorker, the day before the 2016 election. The case against democracy. The Washington Post, the day after the election. The problem with our government is democracy. The LA Times, June 2017. The British election is a reminder of the perils of too much democracy. Vox, June 2017. The two eminent political scientists say the problem with democracy is voters. New York Times, June 2017. The problem with participatory democracy is the participants. Mainstream media elites are part of a class who don't just disdain populism, they disdain the people.
It's a compelling argument. His argument also kind of reminds me, we had Krista Kafer on last week.
Yeah.
And she's making the argument that when it comes to direct democracy in the state of Colorado, we're actually losing out, especially with regards to things like wolves, where people in Denver and Boulder can, essentially declare what people in Grand County have to deal with.
Yeah, and that would prove the other side of what he's arguing, because he said that's the argument. And the thing is, it's clever what he's doing, but it's fairly easy to knock down because he doesn't reference anything cited inside of those. He reads article headlines, not the article subject.
Yeah,
and that's different. And here's the reason. Well, I know. But what I'm saying is that's why it's a trick, is rather than saying in the New York Post article, democracy, this, it said X and X. In this article, it said this and this. He doesn't reinforce the point that the headlines are making by saying the article actually says that, because I'm familiar with one of those articles, and one of them is saying that it is the voters are the problem because the voters are messy and do things like that, where in urban centers, they then vote for things in rural areas, and that is more of a pure democracy, that sometimes allowing people to choose what they want, you don't necessarily get the best. And the person's going back to things like, originally, the U.S. senators were chosen by the legislature, not by the voters. That was one of the first pushes for populism, was to make us allow us to get to elect our own senators. One of the reasons that the Electoral College exists is specifically because they didn't trust the voters. That sometimes the voters would make a bad decision, so the Electoral College was a buffer. That's one of the reasons it's there. It's a buffer against the stupidity of voters. That was kind of how it worked. Yeah. But he doesn't necessarily reinforce that. So.
Do you believe there's a group of elites that have disdain for the common folk?
Here's the thing: is I think most elites have a disdain for the common folk, and they're so removed from them. And so I don't think. Here's the thing: if there is some sort of a large cabal that is organizing and running things around the world, I'm not afraid, because they're not doing a good job. I'm pretty certain. Yeah. If they were really good at doing it, our lives would look a hell of a lot different. I understand people are like, oh no, I'm suffering under the choke of oppression. No, you're not. No. If they really were in charge, if they got to do what they wanted, our lives, your life would look a lot different. So as long as they are, even if they're trying to control the world, as long as they are this inept, I am not afraid of them. Not at all.
Let's go to phone lines. We got jam-packed phone lines. Let's start with Jay. Jay, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
So I know Billy's got a big screen in front of him. I don't know the definition of populist, but I think I am one of those. You two are. I don't know the actual definition, but I think
here's the Oxford definition: a political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel that their concerns are disregarded by established elite groups.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. And it can go to either side politically. Yeah, and both sides use it.
I think I told Billy this before when Peter was on the show, but my grandfather and grandmother escaped Italy in the early turn of the century, last century, from Rome, where they had lived there for 2,000 years, and came to the U.S. to escape fascism. And now their grandson is trying to escape fascism in the U.S., which is, I think, what we're dealing with right now, in communism forced on us.
Yeah, but you understand though, the if we're talking about fascism on the political spectrum, that would be Trump. And I'm not saying that Trump is a fascist. I'm just saying that fascism is a conservative side movement, where communism is the other side, on the liberal side. Now, again, my opinion is the political spectrum is more of a horseshoe, that the fascist and the communist Marxists are much more closer functionally, as far as they have different beliefs, but as far as functionally how they work, they're much closer than they are apart. But the fascism is the conservative movement on the side. And that's why it's always ironic to me when people run around talking about Biden and the left being fascists. Like, that's not even a thing. They can't be, because fascism is a conservative movement.
Do they more represent socialist communists? Because they seem to.
Well, that would be the insult. That would be the issue. It's just whatever it is. That's the correct insult. I mean, if you want to insult them, you call them communists, Marxists, stuff like that, socialists. You can't call them fascists and be credible. Again, we probably would disagree a little bit on it. I think some of them are just classic liberals, and some of them do swing further towards, I wouldn't say communism, but further towards socialism. And I disagree that many are Marxist. I don't think that Marxists, here's the reason why, that on the Marxism side, is I have a hard time believing that those people making millions of dollars for doing as little as possible as they can to help our lives in government are going to change the system so that we all get paid the same much of money and we all get the same stuff. I just don't think they're going to give away their advantage. That's the issue. That's why I don't think that there is, that some of them may wave the flag. But even Bernie Sanders, if the changes that he would want would come about, he wouldn't be very happy with them. He would be for a little while, and maybe because he only knows he's got a short amount of time left on the earth. But what the changes that he would want, he would not be happy with them.
Well, one other point about Mr. Pelosi, Paul Pelosi, because I spent a lot of time in Northern California, and he was leaving Sausalito, which we go to because our family has vineyards there, and he was in his Porsche. And I know, Bill, you like Porsche, and I do too. And he smashed it up on the side of this narrow 2 road, which is on the way from Stimson's Beach. And there was a very young man in his right seat, and the police showed up and allowed the young man to walk back to San Francisco and not be identified or be part of the incident, which was a total.
This was something you saw?
No, sir. I have been there many, many times, but I know the police report and I have access to that, as you do too, because it's now public record. And he is known for doing that sort of thing, which I find interesting, which is fine. Yeah, that's his business.
And again, rich people rules.
Don't tell me. Yeah, exactly. But I was just going to say, Nancy is basically almost doing the "you are all deplorals."
Yeah.
From what I heard, to me, that's parallel.
Gays, guns, and God. That's the reason why the masses can't see through to her brilliance and how she wants to do all this good. But it's your
point.
Gays, guns, and God's view. Let's go to Luke. Denver, you're on line 2 on the Jeff and Bill show. Good morning, Luke.
Morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys, and congrats on Westward Best Talk Show. That's awesome.
Thank you.
We think they were drunk.
I'm really enjoying your philosophical discussion around populism. So wanted to cast my 2 cents into the well.
Please.
I mean, I think it's really clear that the parties are obviously switching, sides on populism a little bit, and I think. I don't think it's inconsistent with conservatism, because I think, particularly the international context. So, conservatism in my mind, and just, my understanding of it, is it's preserving the traditions passed down by our ancestors.
Yep.
So you look at conservatism in the UK, looks very different than conservatism here in America. And I think what we're seeing with the right's embrace of populism right now, which I think comes from a good place. I think, I'm no fan of elitism. I think there's a constant back and forth between the haves and the have-nots. And, I come from a biblical perspective that says, look, it's not justice if you're giving justice to the rich. It's also not justice if you're only giving justice to the poor. It has to be, equal between those 2 parties. So, I don't think we should overly favor one side or the other, but clearly we're in a society right now where the have-nots, the poor, are very much at a disadvantage. There's been extreme wealth inequality, and those with power are taking advantage of our system. And so I think where this is coming from on the right is there is this distrust of our institutions. And so, the right now is picking up the cause of the quote unquote poor man. And then you have the left that's kind of trying to kind of defend the status quo, the system we have in our country. And so I think where this all truly stems from is we have forgotten our identity as Americans. And I think, it's tempting to look at, ethnic arguments and other such arguments. But I think ultimately, from a conservative perspective, it comes down to we are Christians. We are a Christian nation. Our identity is within the family unit, within our faith, and within the traditions we've handed down through generations in this country. I think we need to get back to that. And I think, some of this populist movement is helpful in getting us towards that, but I don't think we should go overboard. So those are my 2 cents. Thank you all.
Luke, that's great. I want to go back to the American identity real quick. It seems this gets a little bit into the Yoram Hazony argument of the classical liberal, the 1960s Berkeley, free speech, embrace, that type of stuff. We've lost that and have now moved into this oppressor versus oppressed worldview that's more Marxist. And in doing so, we have lost our American identity. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree. And I would take it a step further and say, liberalism, not being left, but liberalism in terms of this, enshrinement of the individual's rights, and kind of commodification in this capitalist system of kind of all of our wants and desires. I believe that is failing us. I think that's why we are seeing this just kind of descent into social decline, and just, everyone's kind of just out on their own, living for their own
radical
desires.
individualism.
There's no joy in that.
Yeah, right.
There's no joy in that.
And Luke Niferatis, fights on the marijuana stuff, and this has been one of my big critiques of the marijuana stuff too, is that it was sold as we're going to be able to just smoke a joint in your basement or have a joint in your pocket. You're not going to get arrested. Well, that's not how we live our lives. We raise children. We go to jobs. We drive on the roads. Your actions have collective impact. There's not a radical individualism that you can't just do stuff on your own and not have it affect other people. It does. And that was one of the arguments that was ignored on the marijuana stuff. Luke, we're out of time, unfortunately. I really appreciate your call. He's absolutely one of the smartest guys out there, Luke Niferatis. All right, we'll continue. Calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Tony Littleton, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. Good morning, Tony.
Hey, good morning. I think the discussion about populism is interesting, but I think it gets a little confusing because it can mean so many different things. What I think Pelosi is talking to is, since about 2010, around the globe, right-wing national populism has emerged around the globe, and that's the risk, and that would be defined as defending culture, identity, the economy against perceived attacks by outsiders. And that is kind of, in a single statement, what right-wing nationalism means. And I think you see that anti-environmentalism, anti-globalization, the nativism, protectionism, anti-immigration. Those are all characteristics of right-wing national populism, and I think that's clearly what's going on inside this country. And I think back in 2016, you may recall, in late June when Brexit passed in Europe.
That's exactly where they went. Tony, unfortunately, we're just out of time here. It gets a hard break. Thanks for the call. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
A.m. in the morning. Stephanie, good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and sometimes a little loony. It's going to be a beautiful day in America, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. I appreciate Tony being on. We had to wrap up there quickly with him, but he did a good summary, I think, of Nancy Pelosi's argument. We were discussing last hour the argument, the debate that Nancy Pelosi engaged in Oxford. She got a little heat, though, blaming guns, gays, and God for clouding your understanding of how good her elite thoughts are and policies could be to benefit you. In a second, I want to dive back into Mayor Mike Johnston. We issued on Friday a set of demands, 13 demands we have for him. If you remember last week, illegal immigrants submitted a series of demands. Homeless and illegal immigrants sent a series of demands to Mayor Mike Johnston. One of those including that the city of Denver should provide culturally appropriate food for illegal immigrants in the city. Well, we had our own list of demands. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Bill. 51 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the lower 70s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Denver Public Schools says there will be increased security at East High School today after threats were made on social media. Denver police and the DPS investigating the threats, and they say the increased security is a safety precaution. DPD investigating a deadly shooting along East Colfax. It happened early Sunday morning. Officers found a man who had been shot and pronounced dead at the scene. A witness in a nearby home reported hearing gunshots. No word on any suspects or arrests. Dozens of walkouts at college graduations over the weekend across the country as Hamas supporters continue to try and create more chaos. At DU, Hamas supporters have met with university leaders for the first time, giving a list of demands. Hey, just leave it the way you found it.
Clean up, everybody do your share.
At Duke's graduation, a group of students walked out during comedian Jerry Seinfeld's commencement address.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
I mean, it's fine if that's who you are.
Absolutely.
About 60 Rutgers students.
Hold on, real quick. I really like Jerry Seinfeld. The comedians in Cars, Seinfeld, all that stuff. His commentary, his ongoing comedy. Man, he is just a gift to this country. And the speech that he gave, we're going to play tomorrow, is really good advice for young people.
Good. I haven't heard it yet. No, I think it's great. I think he got a little soft though when I think he went on Bill Maher, and he should have. I mean, he kind of wavered and didn't want anyone to know that he was as possibly more conservative than he is. So that was kind of disappointing, but he's a great comedian. The show is classic. And
did you ever see the interview he had to do where the guy was like, yeah, you only really tended to have white people on Seinfeld.
Right.
And Jerry's like, great. Yeah, this is what I want to discuss.
Yes,
he goes,
exactly.
Comedy is not a DEI thing.
Yes.
He goes, I just traffic in fun and jokes. That's all I care about. I don't care that, that the show has to somehow reflect the census or something like that.
Right. No, that was great. I think he's getting there, man. He is slowly getting there. I think it's good. I think Maher may also, but Maher is, I mean, he'll change right after the election. You can count on that. So.
What you gotta love about comedians though is that they hate being told what to do. And when the left comes in with the stupid list of DEIs, and these are the words you can say, and these are the words you can't say, whether it's Bill Burr, Jerry Seinfeld, Bill Maher, those guys go back to their base core, which is don't tell me what to do. And thank God we still have people like that in our country.
No doubt. You have to have it. All right. About 60 Rutgers students walked out of their graduation ceremony, and at UC Berkeley, they did the same. Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu says the world is a better place when America leads the way against evil like Hamas.
These crowds, mobs in American universities, they burn the Israeli flag and they burn the American flag. They chant, death to Israel, death to America. So we're fighting a common battle, a battle between civilization and barbarism. And that's why we have to win. That's why we will win.
Former President Trump's campaign derailment trial resumes in New York this morning. Former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen taking the stand. Over the weekend, Trump campaigned in New Jersey in front of 100,000 supporters.
Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. I am being indicted for you, and never forget our enemies want to take my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way. We're going to be in this thing together. We're all in this together.
That is so true.
Great audio. Blake, I love the rallies. I think they show excitement. I think they show energy that Donald Trump has. Here's my biggest concern. I hope that Republicans fix this. We hosted a huge rally for Mitt Romney at Red Rocks. Do you remember that in 2012? Yes. We turned away. I was there. We turned away 4,000 people at the door because we couldn't hold them. We internally thought we had locked up Colorado. We were excited. We didn't see yard signs anywhere for Barack Obama. We're like, this is going to be a shift. Barack Obama's a Jimmy Carter. We're going to win this. And then they called the presidential election before the polls even closed in Colorado.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, what it comes down to, and Democrats always know this, Republicans are finally learning this, is turnout and getting people to vote, ballot harvesting, all that stuff. That's what wins elections, not necessarily rallies. I hope rallies are indicative. I hope they're a measurement of energy and passion. Yeah. And if we don't ballot harvest, and I think Charlie Kirk has picked up on this and he's doing it right, and he's getting out there. Hopefully the RNC is. If we don't fight the way they fight, it's just going to be big rallies with another 4 years of Joe Biden.
No, I agree. And that's why it needs to be a national holiday.
Yes.
That's why, people should be off work, schools should be out, and it should be a national holiday. But conservatives have to treat it like that.
Yes.
They have to treat it like a national holiday. If you miss work, if you have to do it. If you miss school, tell your friends and family, even if they hate you for doing it. You have to. I agree. It's that foot traffic, no doubt. All right, 46 in Lakewood, 47 in Littleton, and 51 in Denver.
Edwards lost the ball with a turnover. Nice Denver D. Porter at the other end, and he tries and he gets it to go. Beating the clock. Court length. That's intercepted. Murray could have Big time three.
Such a great call.
Such a great call. That was awesome. You had the steal and the jam on the other end. And it seemed like it took like 20 seconds, but it was 2 seconds. A steal, a dunk on one end, and then Jamal Murray hit the half court 3-pointer last night for the Nuggets right before the buzzer, in front of Kevin Harlan there and Reggie Miller at the broadcast table. He was a foot from him, almost out of bounds, and a 5-point turnaround. And you kind of had a feeling right then that the Nuggets were going to win this game and tie it at 2 games apiece against the T-Wolves in the Western Conference semifinals. They bring it back tomorrow night here in lower downtown Denver. The Joker had 35. Gordon was incredible with 27. Murray had 19. Anthony Edwards, the future star, the star right now, and maybe he turns into one of the best, if not the best, in the end. Who knows? He had 44 points last night for the T-Wolves, but it doesn't matter. It's the best out of 3 now, and 2 of those games will be in Denver. The Avalanche try to tie their series with the Stars tonight at 2 apiece. At Ball Arena, they dropped a puck at 7:30. All right, Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast is calling for a mixed bag this weekend weather-wise. Some sun, some clouds, and some scattered afternoon and evening shower and thunderstorm activity at times. Expect partly cloudy skies, upper 50s today with afternoon showers and a few thunderstorms near 40 tonight. Partly to mostly cloudy, upper 60s Saturday, afternoon and evening thunderstorms. 60s and lower 70s Sunday and Monday with afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms both days. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
Bill Drudge has got an amazing headline right now.
Ooh, what?
Rat face to face with the dawn, and it's got a picture of Cohen.
that's
he
great.
looks like a mouse.
Oh, that's
Rat
wonderful.
face to face with the
That is
dawn.
wonderful. I like that.
We're gonna be covering all this. Michael Cohen now testifying in the Manhattan trial against Donald Trump. So tomorrow we'll break it all down for you in the 6 o'clock hour. You're not going to want to miss this. On Friday, we sent a list of demands to Mayor Mike Johnston. If you remember, earlier in the week, a group of illegal immigrants, homeless illegal immigrants that don't want to be a part of Mike Johnston's $90 million services, put together their own list of demands. We have our own list of demands. We released them on Friday. I'm going to play them for you in just a second. Before I do that, I want to talk to you about my good friend Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Here's the deal with Dan. I've known him for decades now, okay? Dan is with us on all the issues. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America, right? Trustworthy guy, loves this country, and is with us on those conservative issues. He is a titan, right? If you're going to walk into the courtroom, you're going to have a guy that wins by your side. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Well, what if you're like, I can't afford a high-priced attorney, right? How do I get those guys on my team? Well, Dan accepts righteous injury cases based on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. Bottom line, you have to win for him to get paid. If you need Dan's help, call 303-770-5551 or hit dankapleslaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. He is a good dude. All right, here were our list of demands. Back to Mike Johnston, and you, the listeners, just provided it for us. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. In light of the 13 demands from illegal immigrants, newcomers, to Mayor Mike Johnston recently, we felt it was only appropriate for the citizens of Denver to provide their own list of demands. We understand that the mayor is prioritizing homeless illegal immigrants over the citizens of Denver, so we are willing to become homeless newcomers ourselves.
Yes, we will make that sacrifice.
It results in the following demands being met. Listeners of 710 KNUS, citizens of the city of Denver, demand from Mayor Mike Johnston this list of 13 demands. Number 1, force Rockies owner Dick Mumford to field an actual major league team.
Come on. We've been waiting long enough. The team sucks.
We're done with being a single-A team. Rockies.
Yes, we are. Number 2, our second demand. Get rid of those stupid white poles all over downtown that are blocking the traffic lanes. The bikes are going to be fine. They'll learn real quickly. It's kind of natural selection. It'll be fine. Get those white poles out of there. Second demand.
Number 3, please, if there's anything else you could do with your administration, fix the potholes in Denver.
Please, what are you doing? Our fourth demand, make Step Denver and Mayor Mike Kaufman in charge of the homeless issue. You want this thing fixed in under 12 months? They'll do it.
Those guys will get it done. That's for sure. Number 5, this is personal for me. Bring back Blinky's Fun Club and make it mandatory for all birthday celebrations to sing that Blinky version of the song. Bill?
Yes, in Colorado, absolutely.
Can you provide this?
Oh, jeez. Right now, it's happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. It's okay. That's right. I'm not Blinky. We need Blinky. We need the song. All righty. Our next demand is serious. Put Stephen Tubbs in charge of the fentanyl epidemic in town. Right. He has the ability. He has the knowledge. He has the smarts. He's the guy to do it. You want to fix this thing now? Stephen Tubbs.
He's got a documentary coming out about it.
Yes.
Right? In fact, Devastated.
Yep. Devastated. Got to see it. It's
go see
unbelievable.
Stephen is great. Number 7, very important. Free taquitos and 1 margarita with ID every Tuesday. Look, if the government's going to spend money on culturally appropriate food for illegal immigrants, why not spend money on free taquitos and margaritas for the rest of us?
And how much better would your work week be when you knew on Tuesday, free margaritas? Now, our next one, speaking of freebies, this is a no-no freebie. No more trips to the Super Bowl for the mayor of Denver as long as the city is financially insolvent. No, you don't get to go. Auction them off, raise the money.
Got to fix the budget first.
Yep.
You can't be going to the Super Bowl, Mikey. I'm sorry. Number 9, this is an important one. Once a year, the mayor needs to run through Civic Center Park in his or her underwear just to keep them humble. And voters are allowed to line the route and throw water balloons. Purchase of the balloons will be facilitated by the city on race day, and 100% of the money will go towards fixing those potholes.
Number 3, remember that one? See? Problem solution. Yes, we're going to do this. And speaking of solutions, we have got the next demand. We are going to fix the city budget by putting Michael Fields of the Advanced Colorado Institute in charge. He is going to balance the books, and he'll do it in a year. That's going to fix the budget.
Smartest guy in Colorado politics, Michael Fields.
Yep.
All right, number 11. We're not going to be calling Mile High Stadium Empower Fields or whoever else wants to pay for it. It is only Mile High Stadium and will forever only be Mile High Stadium.
Yes. The team owners have way too much money to take a sponsorship. That's not cool. We're also against taxpayer funding of stadiums. Just as we're going to mark that off. Yeah. Also, speaking of that, we demand to remove the sanctuary city status from Denver, Colorado. Now, you can have the programs, not the taxpayer money. You find the private funding for those programs, go for it. Have those people make their vision a reality. Just don't force us and you to pay for it.
I think Pat Stryker, right?
Pat
she wants
Stryker
to give
great.
$90 million.
Right,
that's Pat Stryker's money, right?
Please do it.
Just not
please.
everybody else's. Number 13 of listeners of 710 KNUS, citizens of the city of Denver, demand from Mayor Mike Johnston, please prioritize your tax-paying citizens over providing services for illegal immigrants.
Doesn't seem that hard.
Doesn't seem that hard. In fact, Mayor Mike, I think if you follow these 13 demands right now, you'd have a winning city on your hands. You wouldn't even need to spend $500 million revitalizing it. This right here is the pathway to success, and it starts with taquitos and margaritas. That was our list of 13 demands. Who do you think had better demands, the illegal immigrants or us?
I still don't have a margarita.
Well, it's not quite Tuesday yet.
Yeah, it's true. It's almost as if he's ignoring us.
Well, we did demand that Mike Johnston, the mayor, run through Civic Center Park in his underwear while Bill and I throw water balloons
That's
at
my
him.
favorite. Great idea, because it solves number 3, the potholes.
The potholes.
We're raising money. I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want to do that? It's about the people.
Text message here, 0359. Yes, especially Blinky.
Yes, Blinky's great. And the song's better. The song is objectively better. It's got more style.
I'm trying to remember what else he did on his show. I was so young.
Oh, there's the...
So what did he do during an average show?
God, I don't really remember that much either. I remember, there were some times he'd come out and he would talk to you. He'd sing happy birthday. Yeah, there were puppets. Yeah, there was a puppet show that would go on. Yeah. And then I can't remember. It's been so long. I just remember, the thing for me, it was always the birthday parade at the end. That was the thing you're always looking for, is whose birthday it is. And the kid's sitting there, and some of the kids are like, I don't want to be here. Yeah. And
This is
pouting
scary.
and stuff. Yes, exactly.
This
It's
is
a scary clown. And he was a scary looking clown. He was a hobo clown.
Let us know what you think of our demands. Give us a text
Yeah.
message here, 710KNUS. We'll print these out and mail them over to Mike because we're not going to leave him alone on this.
No, we want our margaritas.
And he wants to spend $500 million to improve. I was talking to some restaurant folks the other day, and they just said it's the minimum wage that's killing it. It is.
I disagree.
There's no amount of development you're going to do down there. It's gotten so expensive. People don't come into happy hours anymore. People aren't working down there, and they used to eke out.
So what's gotten so expensive?
The cost of operating a restaurant. So partly being minimum wage, but they said, this is what they told me.
Yeah.
We used to make 10% year-end revenue over costs. Right after COVID, they were at 3 to 4%.
Yeah.
Now they're below. That's why you've had 184 businesses close in Denver.
Here's the thing that I understand their idea about, it's the minimum wage or it's the raising of this. Tell you what, you double the guests inside your restaurant, you're not complaining about it. You're not. It's not at the core your restaurant cost. The core is customers.
Well, the cost comes from the customers.
The cost customers. Here's the idea.
Yeah.
If that restaurant was full 30 minutes after you open up and it stayed busy during the lunch rush, and then you closed down, and then you were full during the dinner rush, you're not complaining about operating cost because you're covering the cost. The complaint really is at the core customers.
But the customers adjust based upon the cost. Go ahead. Sorry,
not necessarily.
It's
okay. Not necessarily, because you talked about the expense of going downtown, the expense of driving, the expense of parking, the idea of what rent costs to have office space down there, which is ineffective based on homework situations right now. There's a variety of things that, here's the idea. Okay. If we halved the wage, and again, remember, restaurant workers aren't subject to minimum wage laws. They have an exemption. So there are ways they get around. That's why we tip, is because they pay less. So if we would half what the restaurant workers were making, many of these restaurants would still fail. It's customers. If you can't get customers through the door, you fail. If you can pack the restaurant, you do well. You can pay an enormous amount of money to servers. And here's the reason why. I know restaurants downtown where servers are making 2-3 times minimum wage in Colorado. And that's just your hourly wage, not including tips. And because it's a high-end restaurant that's packed, it's absolutely packed. The servers at the Fort aren't pulling minimum wage. Mm-hmm. They're pulling above minimum wage as a base plus tips. And the Fort's doing just fine. They're not closing. Don't worry about it. It's customers. It is customers.
These restaurant operators were saying, though, that this is the tip of the spear. It's about to get a lot worse. So We'll see. $500 million. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference down there. I mean, have you been to Union Station since they spent $400 million?
Not recently. Not recently. And the thing for me is, it is because I'm far, far outside of downtown. It's really weird because I grew up in the downtown area, and the commute is just too long. Traffic is too difficult, and navigating downtown is too difficult as well, as far as parking and other things, or even getting public transportation. Where I live, public transportation is fairly efficient at getting me downtown. I don't have a large gritch there, but I have a problem with, how the buses and things like that cycle later at night, and it's just not as conducive. It's difficult. And not family friendly. The other part is also expensive.
Yep.
Because again, it's more expensive for their rents downtown. And I understand, and even server cost. And I get it. It's more expensive for all of those things.
That building that's got the river on the side of it that they've built?
No.
It's right along I-70. So it's getting a ton of complaints because it looks like they tried to build this nice river and trees and bushes and stuff on the outside of it.
Oh.
So along the building, the side of the building, they built this. But people are like, it looks like it's been damaged.
Yeah.
And no one fixed it. So it's getting a ton of complaints. 1-bedroom apartment, in that $5,000 a month. Who in the world can afford to live downtown? That's just crazy. Anyways, we'll get to some of these text messages here. Here's a good one. 2507. Where's Michael Hancock? That's a really good question. What happened to that guy? He hightailed it out of here. I'm sorry I broke your city for the last 8 years. I'm out of here. Customers don't come in because the costs are so high. This is 0069. Because the restaurants have to pay people so much. That's me and the rest of restaurateurs. Bill has a different take on that. Paul Simon talks about the cabal and Boy in the Bubble. It's a loose affiliation of millionaires and billionaires. That's to the previous conversation. So, yeah, we'll have to see how how Mike Johnston responds to our demands. But we're not going to let up. We're not going to let up. We're going to send those to him. And hopefully we'll get a response. And we'll invite them to be on the show.
Yeah. And it's like the texture, and I respect what they're saying about customers don't come in because costs are too high. But that was the argument in Seattle, where my brother and sister-in-law live. They, a number of years ago, went to a $15 an hour minimum wage for restaurant workers. And it was supposed to devastate the industry. You had a number of restaurants that closed, a number of them succeeded, and new restaurants came in. They still have a vibrant restaurant community. The consumer base adapted, and that's it. And I understand that there's a pain point at the beginning, but the issue being is, based on costs are so high, pushing it just on labor is disingenuous because all costs rise every year. Labor costs rise, the price of rent rises, price of insurance rises, utilities prices rise. Never do the price of your supplies go down. You're not paying less this year for eggs than you were 5 years ago, nor are you paying less 5 years ago than you were 10 years ago. No, that's just how it works. So but the idea that we always point at labor is just really weird to me. It's just strange.
Bill with the message that it's only going to get worse as everything gets more expensive. All right, feel free to give us a call, 303-696-1971. When I come back in a second, Biden tells a lie a minute during a CNN interview. Incredible editorial coming from the New York Post where they went through his lie per minute. We'll review those in just a second. Guys, I want to talk about Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. Look, oftentimes when you talk about low testosterone, you're thinking ED, sex life, all that stuff. But as guys get older and your testosterone goes down, you're going to deal with a lack of sleep, a lack of energy, the inability to build muscle during your workouts. All of that is tied to low testosterone. So even if you are fine on the ED side, but you're dealing with all the effects there, check out Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. Just go take their low T quiz on the website. It's a simple 10-question quiz with yes or no answers. It only takes 2 minutes. Then you can schedule a consult with Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. A Colorado licensed medical provider will review your results with you and discuss your options. Cost of the appointment's only $99, which includes a medical consult, T, and PSA test. If you sign up for the testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Give them a call today at 720-440-7900, 720-440-7900, or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. When we come back, Joe Biden tells a lie a minute. We'll dive into the details. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. Dozens of students at Duke University walked out during a commencement address by comedian Jerry Seinfeld. The students said they boycotted the speech because of Seinfeld's support for Israel. The comedian has been vocal in his support and solidarity with Israel in the aftermath of the October 7th atrocities and met with the families of hostages back in December. As they walked out of the speech, some students chanted Free Palestine and waved Palestinian flags. The university said it understood the depth of feeling in its community and supports peaceful protests. Donald Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen is expected to testify in the former U.S. president's hush money trial today. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts. Sally Patterson has more from New York.
Michael Cohen once said he would take a bullet for Donald Trump. Now he's the key witness in a trial which could see the former president jailed for years. The case is entering its fourth week, with several witnesses already taking the stand, including adult movie star Stormy Daniels, who claims she was paid $130,000 to keep quiet about an alleged affair with Trump, which he denies. Prosecutors allege the former president reimbursed his fixer Cohen for that payment and filed it as a legal expense, which they say was illegal. Trump maintains his innocence.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill. Brian Urbana, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Well, you know, the whole restaurant thing, the name of the company is HARRI. I don't know how you pronounce that. It's a research company that did a research on the negative effects or the effects of minimum wage on restaurants. They found 71% of owners increased prices.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest impact minimum wage had on restaurant owners. 43% of them cut hours, and another, I think it was 40% eliminated jobs.
Yeah.
So that the price increases on the consumer directly, but the owners doing that directly affects my ability to go in somewhere. And
Brian,
then
I agree.
you couple
Brian,
that with
Brian, hang on a second.
homeless.
I agree that I agree with that, Brian. But let's do something here. What happens if we replace that noun of worker or labor wages with rent or insurance or utilities or food cost? Isn't the result the same?
No.
Yes, it is.
It's not, because
yes, it
those
is.
costs are going to go up regardless, but you're adding an additional increase to
here's the issue,
to
Brian.
the employer.
Here's the issue, Brian. Is why do you view an increase in labor as an additional cost? Why isn't that part of the business model? Every other cost you expect to go up year by year. And guess what? Your employees are shocking humans who do what? Live in the real world. So if their cost as far as going to the store based on average cost of living, which you and I both know goes up an average of 3% each year, every year what you're going to pay goes up 3% on average. So you know that your people working for you are going to have to pay more for food, for rent, for gas, for clothes the next year. So inside the business model should be an understanding that wage costs increase. Yet the only time we complain about it, the only one of those inputs that we get mad about is labor, because right there you were okay with rent and utilities and food cost all going up, but you're not okay with labor costs.
None of those are mandated by the government to go up. With minimum wage, though, the government is stepping in. And by the way, minimum wage it was never designed to be a living wage. It was designed to be the wage you get when you start a job at 16 and you're just getting started.
And it isn't a living wage now, so don't complain about it.
Right. And it should never be. But in all those cases you just laid out, the only one that's government mandated was the wage one.
Not necessarily.
And you have to say,
not necessarily.
You have to say that you're making those costs went up on home owners of restaurants exponentially, basically overnight. So it wasn't like it gradually went up where they could make adjustments. This is how it's going.
Rent costs and food costs do the same thing. We had tons of restaurants complaining about how expensive it was for them to buy food, eggs, milk, and things in the last 24 months. Those things went up, and rent increases not gradually, dramatically, because your landlord comes in and says, hey, now you're paying this much more. They don't come in and go, can you give me $5 more, $10 more over the course of the next year? No. When your rental contract is up for the loan where you are located, you get an increase, and that is done in a stair step. It's not gradual, and you know that, Brian.
Yeah, but here we go. The overall thinking is that mandating increases in minimum wage has a negative impact that in the result it's intended to have. It's actually people are getting laid off. People are getting their hours cut, and so they're making more. But if they're working less, who knows what's the benefit there?
So Brian,
these are entry level jobs.
If that's true, then the inverse should also be true. Then if we cut the minimum wage, people will be making more money by working more hours and having more jobs. Is that true? Is that what you feel? Because that wouldn't be true, because you wouldn't be able to make the money because you're not making the money based on the hourly wage. So you're not going to be in a better position. But according to according to how you laid it out, that would be the solution. And it doesn't work that way. We know that. And we know that if there wasn't a mandated increase in the wage, then in many businesses, they would never increase the wage.
And then people will go find different jobs to work.
Not necessarily.
Brian, I appreciate the call. Brian from Arvada. Good text message here from our friend Corey. There is a desert of restaurants near Civic Center that could meet the needs of employees for brunch, lunch that is affordable. McDonald's left due to their inability to keep homeless out. Heidi's Deli closed. Denver's Diner closed. Too many instances of shootings downtown. Employees don't feel safe. Remember when the shining star of the Denver government, the Wellington Webb building, had windows shot out from gunfighting?
Oh, yeah. But none of those things are an impact of wage increases. Not a single thing there is an impact of a wage increase. But yet, that's the complaint. That's the issue. Is we always single out labor as being, and this is the weird part, is it's labor. It is humans. the other Americans that we are hoping to chase the American dream. And we're the ones, and those are the ones that were mad when they get more money.
It's not
that the rental company gets more money.
It's the government mandate.
Not that the rental company gets more. We're not worried about the landlord. We're not mad about the food costs going up. We're not mad about insurance going up. The one thing we're mad about is when other Americans make more money. That pisses us off.
No,
that is an irony. That is an irony that is
true,
thick.
Bill.
That is what he just heard on the phone with Brian.
No,
hear from
the frustration is when dopes at the Denver City Council are mandating all the other businesses what they have to pay their employees. If a business wants to increase its salary for its employees, and in doing so has to increase costs, nobody cares about that. It's the government mandate that cares.
They do. They care about it all the time.
I want to talk to you guys about advanced hair restoration. You heard that we here at the Jeff and Bill Show got rated by Westward as the top talk radio program in Denver. We love that. We're so grateful for Westward thinking of us. Our friends at Advanced Hair Restoration were named the top hair restoration place in Denver. So you can trust these guys. They're going to do a good job. For those of you with a full head of hair, congratulations. Studies show that one of the most attractive physical features is a full head of hair. Want to know the least attractive and most aging? Well, it's hair loss. No amount of car, house, or success can make up for that thinning or balding, as it leaves the greatest lasting physical impression. It doesn't have to be that way. Advanced Hair has the quick, one-day solution to your hair loss. No more expensive pills or special shampoos, just your very own natural hair guaranteed to grow. And with Advanced Hair, your new hair can grow for life. Advanced Hair has improved tens of thousands of lives, including top radio personalities across the country. Did I mention your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day? For your free consultation, call 720-459-HAIR. And if you qualify, get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Visit their website today, advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. All right, I want to switch subjects here. Biden tells a lie a minute during the CNN interview. This from the New York Post editorial board. The White House rarely allows President Biden to sit down for interviews, and Wednesday's chat last week with CNN's Aaron Burnett shows why. In a brief 17 minutes, Biden told 15 lies, nearly a lie a minute. From whoppers about the economy to provocations on Israel, Biden spun a fantasy land of a presidency that voters know is false. Here's the rundown. Lie number one, I've created 15 million jobs since I've been president. This is Biden's favorite falsehood, they say, told over and over again, no matter how many fact checks call him out. He took office at the tail end of a pandemic that blew a hole in the economy when lockdown policies, wholeheartedly endorsed by Democrats, took people out of the office and onto COVID stimulus checks. He created nothing, they say. After the introduction of the vaccine, people returned to the workforce. If anything, Biden's policies slowed the recovery. It took until July 2022 for the U.S. economy to regain all the jobs lost to the pandemic. Lie number two, other than Herbert Hoover, Donald Trump is the only president who has lost more jobs than he created. The corollary lie, Trump didn't lose jobs. He was president during a global pandemic. And liberals were thrilled to put people on government checks and shut down the world during COVID. They cannot argue that the job market would have been any different in 2020 under a Democrat. Lie number three, look at what he says he's going to do if he gets elected. Says he's going to do away with what I've done on Medicare, reducing the price of Medicare. There's no basis for this, the Post says. As Trump has said, he will never do anything that will hurt or jeopardize Social Security or Medicare. Further, Trump pursued the exact same executive orders to lower prescription drug prices as did Biden. Lie number four, we have 1,000 billionaires in America. Know what their average federal tax is? 8.3%. Factcheck.org notes the top 0.1% of earners with more than 4.4 million in expanded cash income pay an average of 25.1% in federal income and payroll taxes. Lie number five, we've turned it around on the economy. Burnett quotes some tough figures in this economy, noting that the cost of buying a home has doubled and real income, when you account for inflation, is actually down since you took office. Biden's response? Denial. Skip ahead here because we're running a little close on time, but it's a good breakdown of kind of these interviews that he does. Here's number 8. Inflation was 9% when I came into office. This is the big one. This is a lie of the night, they say. Biden continues to pretend that the U.S. was in a terrible shape when he took office, when it was already on the rebound, thanks to Trump's warp speed project that vaccinated people quickly against COVID. Inflation was a messy 1.4% in January of 2021, not 9%. Then Biden went on in his first year drunken sailor spending spree, and inflation skyrocketed. Lie number 9, they have the money to spend. It angers them and it angers me that they have to spend more. They have money to spend. According to Bankrate, 76% of adults making less than $50,000 a year are living from paycheck to paycheck, an increase from 71% the year before that. Biden need only to watch the nightly news to see people cutting back on groceries, gas, even tips to McDonald's, because their spending power has decreased. Lie number 10, civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs and other ways in which they go after the population centers. It's liable to suggest that Israel is deliberately targeting population centers. Hamas embeds itself in civilian populations, creating bases inside hospitals and digging tunnels under residential apartments. Israel has been warning the people of Rafah for more than a week to move to a safe zone outside the city. They do not go after population centers. They work hard to minimize deaths while stopping the terrorists who kidnapped, raped, and murdered Israeli civilians. All right. And last one. Trump is going to put a 10% tax that's going to increase average Americans' cost by $1,500 a year. Trump has proposed no such tax. Perhaps Biden means Trump's plan for a 10% tariff on imported goods, which may or may not have cost Americans more money. You know who else is considering imposing tariffs? Biden. Just this week, under the headline, Biden looks to thwart surge of Chinese imports, the New York Times notes that China is using unfair business practices and Biden wants to counter it. You think any of these are problems for Joe Biden?
Not necessarily, because of his opponent.
Mm-hmm.
To me, he's just trying to catch up. that Trump's so far ahead on the number. He's just catching up. And I saw a lot of things that were absolutely untrue that he said. But again, his opponent has a very, very casual relationship with the truth. So the idea that they have now exposed something, no, not really, but okay. It was interesting, though. And I especially like their response to the idea of Biden and the inflation stuff. And yes, Biden, that was an absolute lie. But their thing is, and then all the spending and then inflation exploded. Really? So the government spending here exploded inflation around the world. That didn't happen. But that's okay. Some of their explanations were complete horse crap as far as what they said actually happened. So it was funny to see them follow an obfuscation of the truth when they're critiquing an obfuscation of the truth. It was kind of a duality there that was fun.
All right, I want to talk to you. Speaking of inflation, American financing. Everyone thinks mortgage rates are extremely high, but that's not entirely true. Mortgage rates are much lower than the average credit card rate of 22%. Oh, that's like a gut punch. If you're caught in debt around 22% interest rates, you're in a vicious cycle. Think about how much interest you're going to pay on that credit card if you're only paying the minimum payment every month. If you're a homeowner, a cash-out refinance with American Financing can help you pay the debt and lower your monthly expense. They're saving homeowners just like you an average of $854 a month. Their salary-based mortgage consultants will show you how much you can save every month with no upfront fees and no obligation. You may even close in as fast as 10 days and possibly delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you greater savings upfront. Get the financial relief you need and stop living paycheck to paycheck. Call American Financing today. That's American Financing, 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000, AmericanFinancing.net, NMLS 182334, consumeraccess.org. All right, when we come back, we're going to dive into this in the next hour. Biden's $7.5 billion investment in charging stations. And you'll never guess how many they've produced in 2 years. All right, you're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
All right, let's go to Frank in Evergreen. Good morning, Frank. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. So we're talking about the interview, I guess. And bottom line is Biden's always been a big fat liar. But now he's getting to the age where he can't keep track of his lies anymore, so it's getting harder. It's just pathetic. The guy's, on the one issue that's key to my heart is abortion. He thinks he's pro-choice, but he's really not. He's pro-abortion is what he is, because he's okay. He's okay. He doesn't want to kill babies himself, but it's okay when somebody else kills them. And the Democrats have successfully made that called it pro-choice to make it sound politically acceptable. Well, it's not pro-choice; it's pro-abortion, is what it is. You're killing babies.
This was, and Frank, this was the first interview where I think I've seen the media at least try to hold him a little bit accountable. At least in New York Post does.
It's a fake.
I don't know if Aaron Burnett did, but at least she wasn't asking what his favorite ice cream flavor was.
No.
They're faking you, man. I mean, it's a head fake.
Seriously. Now on the far left side, thanks for the call, Frank. We're out of time. I apologize. On the far left, I haven't seen really far left outlets, but the moderate left outlets will fact check Biden on a regular basis.
Do they?
Will. Yeah, they do.
All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Yeah. Good morning, Denver. It's 9 a.m. in the Mile High City, and you have tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and sometimes nutty. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, a city on a hill. You were born and growing up and living today in America. You won the lottery. We're gearing up for a whole nother morning. An hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. In just a second, Jordan Scott's going to join us on a celebration they're going to host tomorrow at the state capitol in light of Israel's Independence Day. So getting together to have a fun day to honor Israel, and I'm so glad they're doing that. So we'll dive into what they're hoping to achieve tomorrow in just a second. Let's check in on Blake Olson's news. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff, and morning, Billy. 57 in Denver, expecting highs in the lower 70s today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
If my plane flies over a blue state, the following day I get subpoenaed to go before a grand jury.
Former President Trump's campaign derailment trial resumes in New York. Former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen on the stand now. He's almost as goofy as Stormy. Over the weekend, Trump campaigned in New Jersey in front of 100,000 freedom-loving people.
Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. I am being indicted for you, and never forget our enemies want to take my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way. We're going to be in this thing together. We're all in this together.
Dozens of walkouts at college graduations across the country over the weekend. Hamas supporters creating more chaos. At DU, they've met with university leaders for the first time, giving a list of demands.
What if, and believe me, this is so hypothetical, but what if you were offered some kind of a stock option equity sharing program? Would that do anything for you?
And at Duke, students walked out during comedian Jerry Seinfeld's commencement address.
He's so neat and thin. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
About 60 Rutgers students walked out of their graduation ceremony, and at UC Berkeley, they did the same. Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu says the world is a better place when America leads the way with Israel against terrorism.
These crowds, mobs in American universities, they burn the Israeli flag and they burn the American flag. They chant, death to Israel, death to America. So we're fighting a common battle, a battle between civilization and barbarism. And that's why we have to win. That's why we will win.
Amen. Denver Public Schools says that there will be increased security at East High School today after threats were made on social media. Denver police and the DPS investigating the threats and say the increased security is a safety precaution. One person is dead following a fiery Sunday night crash on Santa Fe where a wrong-way driver lost control and crashed. First responders say the vehicle was engulfed in flames when they arrived, and the driver was pronounced dead at the scene. Aurora police investigating a stabbing that left a 15-year-old boy seriously injured Friday night near South Peoria Street and East Archer. The boy was approached by a man who demanded his cell phone and then stabbed him before running away. There's no word on any suspects, and the teen is expected to survive his injuries. 51 in Golden, 55 in Highlands Ranch, and 57 in Denver.
Edwards lost the ball with a turnover. Nice Denver D. Porter at the other end, and he tries and he gets it to go. Beating the clock. Quad length. It's intercepted. Murray could have it. Got it! Big time three.
Jamal Murray hit a half-court three after stealing a pass and then launched it right near Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller on the broadcast table. A 5-point turnaround in fewer than 2 seconds last night, right before the halftime buzzer, and the Nuggets are rolling right now. They've tied the series at 2 games apiece before they bring it back to Denver tomorrow night against the T-Wolves. Now it is the best of 3. 2 games will be here in Denver. Joker had 35. Gordon had 27. He was incredible. Murray had 19. Edwards for the T-Wolves had 44 points. The Avalanche try to tie their series with the Stars tonight at 2 games apiece at Ball Arena. They drop the puck at 7:30. It's the Power Hour. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast is calling for a mixed bag this weekend, weather-wise. Some sun, some clouds, and some scattered afternoon and evening shower and thunderstorm activity at times. Expect partly cloudy skies, upper 50s today with afternoon showers and a few thunderstorms near 40 tonight. Partly to mostly cloudy, upper 60s Saturday, afternoon and evening thunderstorms. 60s and lower 70s Sunday and Monday with afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms both days. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
All right, on May 14th, 1948, Israel was reborn as a nation after 2,000 years. Israel is home to the largest number of Holocaust survivors in the world, nearly 180,000. Survivors resident in Israel include both Jews who were victims of the Nazis in Europe and Jews from the Middle East and North Africa who were victims of pogroms and other violence that took place there. Tomorrow, Jews in Denver are going to gather down at the Colorado State Capitol to join to celebrate the permanent promise of land belonging to the people of Israel. Even when Israel was expelled from their land, which has happened twice in history, God promised the return. And the Lord your God will bring you to the land which your forefathers possessed. You too will take possession of it. He will do good to you. He will make you more numerous than your forefathers. That's from Deuteronomy 35. One of the organizers of the program tomorrow at the Colorado State Capitol to celebrate Israel is Jordan Scott. He joins us on the Jeff and Bill show. Jordan, thanks so much for being on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's talk about what you guys are doing tomorrow. What are the times, and what do you hope to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. So appreciate you having me on. And tomorrow we're going to have this event from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. We're going to have just a great day of celebration. We're going to be out there with all different kinds of speakers and, just paraphernalia to celebrate and lift the spirits of the Israeli people right now, because, we're in such a climate that has caused fear. And there wasn't a lot going on this year, so we just felt the need to fill the gap and provide a great place for people to come together.
And are you concerned about security tomorrow? Are there going to be police there to protect Jews celebrating?
Yeah, absolutely. We did have a little bit of a concern, and we had some people express that concern to us. But we went out of our way to make sure that security was our first priority. We're working with the Colorado State Patrol, who will be providing security for the whole event. They're the ones that will provide the security. And then we're going to also have security on top of that. We're going to have several speakers as well that'll be speaking. And, we just wanted to make sure everybody felt safe, like they could come there and they didn't have to have any worries.
Well, I appreciate the boldness on this. Again, we're talking with Jonathan Scott about Israel Independence Day celebration rally tomorrow, Colorado Capitol. That's Tuesday, May 14th from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Tell us about what Jews are going through, how they feel in light of growing anti-Semitism in this country, with the student protests, the pro-terrorist, pro-Hamas protests that are taking place at Auraria campus, at DU campus. How is it for Jews out there?
Yeah. So I would say right now we're in a climate unlike any I've ever seen in my lifetime. Me personally, I am of Jewish heritage, camp survivor. So I grew up hearing all the stories about how the Holocaust sparked, how everything led up to the concentration camps, the atmosphere that my grandmother was in, before she was put into the camps. She ended up marrying an American soldier and came to America, and then my mom had me. But it really is reminiscent of what we're seeing today of what my grandmother had told me. There's a lot of elements within what's going on today, just in terms of anti-Semitism that they saw back then. If you look at the night of broken glass and some of those incidents, they had inspired the people. The Nazis had inspired the people to rage and to go against the Jews. So it was this movement that just took over, and it was this mindset that took over. And I remember my grandmother telling me that everybody was just so captivated by it, and it didn't make sense. It was like everybody was under a spell, and that's what I feel like we're seeing nowadays, because none of it makes sense and everybody's falling into it. So everybody's very concerned, I feel like, especially on campus. We see these movements that have popped up, and there's many Jewish students who feel like they can't even walk on campus. They're swore at, they're spit on, they're blocked from going into class. And I believe this is just the beginning, but now is not the time to back down and go into the closet. Now is the time to take the high road. These people want to take the low road. We need to take the high road and not down.
That's exactly right. Take the high road. Celebrate Israel. I was in Israel last April. First time I ever went there. Wonderful country. I felt safe. I walked around late at night because you have soldiers everywhere. And the soldiers are unique, right? Because you're conscripted when you're younger. So 18, 19 years old, they have a mandatory military service. So it's just like groups of 19-year-old girls with M16 slung around their back, hanging out on one corner. You walk down a block, there's a group of about 19-year-old boys all hanging out, just being college or young adults, hanging out and defending their country. So you feel safe there. But when you think about the complexities of Israel, okay, here you have a country that has all three major religions centering their holy lands there, right? The Jews, Christians, and Muslims, and everybody can visit their own place. So the Muslims can go to Dome of the Rock. I can go to the place where Christ was crucified. Jews can go to the Western Wall. Generally, everybody gets along very well, and they've been able to maintain that. And you have a Western-style democracy, and you have free market capitalism, and you don't have Iranians throwing gay people off roofs. I mean, it's a very nice country to be a part of. So, Jordan Scott, can people who are not Jews come tomorrow to honor Israel and to honor Jews?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And, this celebration is for the whole community. All are welcome. And, we just wanted to provide this place for everybody to come together, especially the Jewish people and the people of Israel, but everybody who supports it, anybody in America, any freedom-loving Americans, because that's what this is about. Honestly, this is about freedom, and Western values. A lot of these movements that we see pop up are very heavily connected with extremism, religious extremism, and socialism. And, we really have to do what we can to raise awareness, stand against it, and, like I said, take the high road. So, yeah, I think that this is going to be great. It's going to be a great opportunity, and I just feel blessed that we were able to put this on this year, and, it didn't go by the wayside, and we had a year of no celebration.
And I'll tell you this, as someone who has Jewish friends, have watched their Jewish friends go through what they're facing, this rising anti-Semitism, it means a lot to them when people come alongside and stand with them and say, we're not going to allow this to happen. Let me help you understand where we are in our culture and how we got to this, okay? Do I think for the last 25 years there's been a growing bubbling of anti-Semitism in America? Not really. What I think has happened is you have radical Islamists, Hamas, Iran, that hate the Jews and not just want to wipe Israel out, but they want all Jews wiped out of the face of the earth. So you have radical anti-Semitism within the Islamists. But what they did was they co-opted growing Marxism that's taking place among younger people. And what do I mean by Marxism? Just read the opening page, the opening line of the Communist Manifesto. Read that first page. And when you read it, you go, well, that's how our culture thinks these days, that all of history is oppressor versus oppressed. And so what the Islamists did and what the Marxists have did is they've combined forces. And when you have a successful country, right? Like Israel's a successful country. It's doing great things. It's developing. It's got a strong economy. It's a free market, pro-democracy country, and it's thriving. And then you have the Palestinians, and they're being run by a bunch of lunatics, and their country is not doing well. And so because their country's not doing well and Israel's is doing well, the Marxists look at that and go, well, that's because Israel oppresses Palestine. That's why we're in this situation, which is not true. But that's what they push out on these kind of college students that believe in that Marxist worldview of oppressor versus oppressed. And so Israel's an oppressor. Palestine is the oppressed. And when you think like that, when you put yourself in that type of worldview, you greenlight the oppressed to go do whatever they want against the oppressor. In fact, it's like a moral obligation. You want to rape innocent women and children and kill them and put them in ovens like Hamas did on October 7th? Yes, you should, because you are attacking the oppressor. And you've seen even some college professors go, this was a pushback of the oppressed against the oppressor. We have to reject that worldview entirely. We need to stand with our friends in Israel who are pushing back and fighting against this. And so even if you're a Christian or of no faith, or you want to go support Israel, I recommend that you go down there and do this. This is Israel's Independence Day celebration at the Colorado State Capitol tomorrow, May 14th, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Jordan Scott providing some insight and organizing. How do people learn more information? How can they get details about this, Jordan?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can check out our Eventbrite. We kind of last minute organized this, so we weren't equipped to put up a website, but you can check out our Eventbrite. You can also check it out through First Amendment Media. That's my organization, my company that's hosting the event. And, we just do local productions and reporting, and we have some information about it there. And I will say on a last note here that we just all got to come together, no matter if you're a supporter of Israel, if you're Jewish, if you're Israeli, we all have to come together right now, because we are seeing that division. And like you said, we're seeing this attitude of just everybody hopping on board, this violent attitude. And I will say this, that there's a lot of hatred, but also this co-opting, this joining together, like you said, of Marxism and Muslim extremism, unlike anything I've ever seen. We've looked into this a little bit through First Amendment Media, and these people, they might have different views, the Marxist and the Muslim extremists, but they come together because they agree on one thing. They hate America, and they especially hate Israel, and they're waging a war against quote unquote Western imperialism.
That's exactly right. Talking with Jordan Scott. He's organizing tomorrow an Israel Independence Day again, May 14th, Tuesday, Colorado Capitol, East Steps, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. I'll push this out on my X account, x.com/Jeff Hunt, so you can get the details there. But yeah, you don't have to sign up, right? You can just show up. Is that correct, Jordan?
Yeah, that's correct. And if you go to the Eventbrite, there might be like a little sign up where you can obtain a ticket. But yeah, it's a free open event, and everybody is welcome. We do have some good sized permits, so we're expecting a pretty good turnout, and hope everybody can make it.
Jordan Scott, thanks so much for organizing this. Thanks for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, I want to talk to you about UltraCur. If you're like me, you're working out regularly, but you're getting a little bit older, things get sore, your arms, your back gets sore. We all want a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and to overcome pain. How about something that's not addictive, not going to be something that could cause you problems? UltraCur is a patented non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. You've heard of curcumin before. It's in some other programs. This is a good way to experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro natural grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. UltraCur is fueled by a patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. If you've tried everything without much success, and guys, you got to stay active out there, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try UltraCur today. Plus, it doesn't hurt your stomach, which is nice, and it's a natural antioxidant. Get curious, Denver. Head to the natural grocers. Grab your free 3-day UltraCur trial, no strings attached. If you're wondering about the research, get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. All right, when we return, Joe Biden spent $7.5 billion on electric vehicle charging stations and has produced only 7 of those charging stations in 2 years. We'll cover this and more. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. Donald Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen is expected to testify in the former U.S. president's hush money trial today. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts. Sally Patterson has more from New York.
Michael Cohen once said he would take a bullet for Donald Trump. Now he's the key witness in a trial which could see the former president jailed for years. The case is entering its 4th week, with several witnesses already taking the stand, including adult movie star Stormy Daniels, who claims she was paid $130,000 to keep quiet about an alleged affair with Trump, which he denies. Prosecutors allege the former president reimbursed his fixer Cohen for that payment and filed it as a legal expense, which they say was illegal. Trump maintains his innocence.
Dozens of students at Duke University walked out during a commencement address by comedian Jerry Seinfeld. The students said they boycotted the speech because of Seinfeld's support for Israel. The comedian has been vocal in his support and solidarity with Israel in the aftermath of the October 7th atrocities and met with the families of hostages back in December. As they walked out of the speech, some students chanted Free Palestine and waved Palestinian flags. The university said it understood the depth of feeling in its community and supports peaceful protests. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Washington Post reporting Biden's $7.5 billion investment in EV charging stations has only produced 7 stations in 2 years.
I'm surprised they got that many. Again, it's the government. It's if they would have just contracted and subcontracted a set of things, you probably could have done it a little better. But
$7.5 billion. So that's $1 billion per station at this point.
Yeah.
They're planning to build a lot more. President
sure.
Biden has long vowed to build 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations in the United States by 2030. Those stations, the White House said, would help Americans feel confident purchasing and driving electric cars and helping the country cut carbon pollution.
Yeah. And that is what we need. We do need more charging stations. But here's the thing. This is a fantastic example of what we talk about on the show all the time. How when they start programs like this from the government, they're not intended to end. And here's the reason why. Now, if Jeff or I were in a private company and we were put in charge of rolling out the charging stations and getting them built, we would be trying to accomplish the job as efficiently, safely, and quickly as possible. None of those things are constraints on the government. In fact, if Jeff is sitting in the office of, we'll make him the czar of charging stations across America, just because I think czar is a cool name. So he's going to be the charging
I'm
czar.
take a nap because I'm the czar.
You are. So while he is napping in his office as the charging czar, does he have any incentive at all to complete his project? No, because as soon as he does, the check dries up. His big fat government check goes away and his job goes away. He has zero incentive to efficiently accomplish the work. In fact, as long as he piddles around and ferrets away other money, he can go back and ask for more money. So again, this is why we don't have nice things. It's exactly this.
I'm going to get into the details on this in just a second, but I want to talk to you if you have constant back pain and it's robbing you of the joy in your life. Well, you're not alone. Back pain affects millions, impacting the quality of their lives. But here's hope. My friends at QC Kinetics Denver offer regenerative medical treatments. These are non-surgical, drug-free solutions. As we age, lower back pain becomes common. From muscle strains to herniated discs, symptoms like muscle aches and shooting pain can worsen with government. Why risk surgery when there's a safer option? Surgery should be the last resort, but you got to keep moving. Movement is the grease for your joints. It's what keeps you going. If you stop moving, you get sedentary, then things start to really become a problem. With no downtime and a free consultation, QC Kinetics often provides same-day treatment. Visit my friends at QC Kinetics and revolutionize your approach to lower back pain. Call 303-900-8986, 303-900-8986, or visit painfreecolorado.com. It's a great website to have.
That is.
Painfreecolorado.com to schedule your free consultation and tell them Jeff Hunt sent you. All right, here's the details.
Yeah.
President Biden had long vowed to build 500,000 electrical vehicle charging stations in the United States by 2030. Those stations, the White House said, would help Americans feel confident purchasing and driving electric cars and helping the country cut carbon pollution. But now, more than 2 years after Congress allocated $7.5 billion to help build those stations, only 7 EV charging stations are operational across 4 states. And as the Biden administration rolls out its new rules for emissions from cars and trucks, why not? Because we have the stations, right? We can do the new rules. Oh, wait. Which will require a lot more electric cars and hybrids on the road. The sluggish build-out could slow the transition to electric cars. I think a lot of people who are watching this are getting concerned about the timeline, said Alexandra Laska, Deputy Director of Transportation Innovation at the center-left think tank, The Third Way. The bipartisan infrastructure law, which Biden signed in November of 2021, included $7.5 billion for EV charging. Of that, $5 billion was allocated to individual states and so-called formula funding to build a network of fast chargers along major highways in the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure, or NEVI program. But after 2 years, that program has only delivered 7 open charging stations with a total of 38 spots where drivers can charge their vehicles. So, Bill, I get I get the electric vehicle.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you have one?
No.
Okay.
No. But I would. I mean, honestly,
well,
if we didn't live in Colorado and lithium batteries were more stable in temperature gradients, I would. If we had a solid state battery solution that Toyota, I think Honda are working on, yeah, I'd have an EV right now. Problem is lithium batteries based on temperature extremes don't hold the charge. So the really hot July, August days don't hold the charge. The really cold Colorado days in January, February, March don't hold the charge. That's the problem I've got. And so that's the real issue. And for me, it's that long distance. Commuting around town, yeah. But the idea of getting to the mountains, getting to Pueblo, getting things like that is too hard. And there's too much involved because we don't have charging stations that I can easily stop at like I would have a gas station. That's exactly it.
I get the electric vehicle for your daily driver, right? Yeah. At night, you plug it in, you wake up, you pull out of your garage and you drive to work, you drive the kids to school, you drive back home. Okay. That makes sense.
There are some in our neighborhood, a couple of people that have Teslas that park them on the street outside. I'm like, where are you charging? When are you possibly doing it? There's no cord going out to the car. I'm sorry, it's a side note. But it's just, I wander around the neighborhood going, how the hell do you charge that thing? What's going on here? So, okay, sorry, continue. Sorry.
So,
this bothers me.
But it sounds like a living hell to take those things and have to spend like 30 minutes or even longer, 2 hours sitting at a charging station somewhere in rural Nevada because I wanted to drive for a California vacation.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that at all.
No.
I want to fill it up quickly, grab a Red Bull and some, Sour Patch Kids and get back on the road, not sitting around in a parking lot for 2 hours while this thing charges.
Yeah, that's why Tesla was way ahead of everybody else with these fast chargers or supercharging stations. And slowly, again, we went through the VHS Betamax of EV as well because everybody had their own plug-in. And so everything was different. And so finally, they've started to adopt the Tesla plug-in and begin to be compatible with Tesla superchargers because like Kias can use the Tesla superchargers. Now, Tesla's killed their supercharging department. They fired all of them like 3 weeks ago. So now I have no idea what's going to happen with anything in that technology because Tesla doesn't have a team anymore to do anything about it. And that is going to be the problem is until the charging stations are as prevalent as gas stations and until the charge lasts fast. As long as they fill up gas, you're not going to win the battle. You're just not. It's not going to because it's the same consumer.
Hybrids are
huge.
Right?
Hybrids are fantastic
because then you can fill up the gas and charge the battery and do that. Seems like the best of both worlds. But these libs don't want to have anything to do with it. Gas. It comes out of the ground.
I wouldn't say the libs. I would say there's a group out of there that don't want to. Hybrid technology, in my opinion, was something that was glossed over here in America and really is the growth because of the spaces we have. We don't have the tight, compact cities like they have in Europe and places in the Asian Pacific Rim. We have more elbow room. And so the hybrids make a hell of a lot more sense. And in my mind, American companies should have leaned heavily into the hybrids before getting into the EVs. But when they did lean into the EVs, they did what the typical business does. What they did is, what's the one that we can make the most on? What are the models that give us the biggest bang for the buck? So that's why you have the F-150 Lightning. That's why you have the bigger models. All of a sudden, the big expensive because that's their higher profit cost. Where the growth industry is actually in the smaller EVs. In fact, in Asia and in Europe right now, it's micro EVs. It is. You remember the smart cars? Yeah, they look like the smart. They look like the smart car. In fact, there is one. Oh God, is it the Microline that is phenomenal? It is that
couldn't work in Colorado.
It could
with snow and all that stuff.
That would be the issue. Is the snow, and that's the issue. Is we got to figure out the snow. Anything else, but again, given the snow. With those little EVs, you probably have about a total of 10 days throughout the year that you can't get around. Yeah. Everything else, you're fine. But again, charge issues.
Right, RTD.
Oh, yeah.
There's a good text, 7061. Municipalities would be crazy not to put charging stations next to bars and nightclubs.
What was it? It was at Philadelphia. Philadelphia had a thing about they bought a whole fleet of EV vehicles. And then, so they had a department that decided who was going to get the EV vehicles.
Yep.
Then they had another department that was in charge of placing the charging stations. Guess what they didn't do? Talk to each other. Didn't talk. So where they put the EV vehicles is not where they put the charging stations. So the offices that got the EV vehicles don't have enough charging stations, and offices that don't have any EV vehicles have charging stations for vehicles that don't exist. And so these employees are having to take the cars home and charge them at home on their own dime, or they have to take 30 minutes or so out of their day. And here was the issue. Those EV vehicles, the fleets, were things like, I don't know, building inspectors, people that go around and check the restaurants to make sure they're not poisoning you. The people that had to drive around, they thought, oh, EVs, this will be much more efficient. And then they didn't figure out a way to charge them. So it's actually taking them more time off of doing their job in order to charge the vehicles. And that is our government in action. If that doesn't perfectly outline the problems with this crap, that's it. That is exactly it. We're idiots.
So we recently had Gay Ribble in the studio here. You know Gay Ribble from the Empower Home team. That name's familiar on this station. I have had an absolute joy getting a chance to meet her since I took over for George Brockler. Let me tell you why. One, Gay Ribble is one of the kindest people. She's got a wonderful smile, great disposition. She'll be wonderful to work with if you need to sell your home, right? Number two, she cares about and has the same values that we do on this radio station. What do I mean by that? She gives back portions of what she makes from her home sales at a Power Home team to serve and support orphans in the state of Colorado. Why is that important to her? Because she was an orphan herself and has built a great life and wants to help those orphans find their forever family and get launched and get their life going. So she's motivated by that. Third, she has a huge database to dive into when it's time to sell your home. Listen to this. She can get an average of her clients $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team, because they have an exclusive database of over 14,000 pre-approved buyers. Now, I get we all got family members that are agents. We all got friends that are agents. But when it comes to selling your home, it's about cash and money in your pocket, right? So go with somebody that can get you an average of $30,000 more. Here's an unbeatable offer. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team will sell you your house for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. If it's an offer you simply cannot refuse, get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Give them a call today, 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. All right, we're talking Joe Biden, $7.5 billion investment in EV charging has only produced 7 stations in 2 years. Last month, Republican members in the House of Representatives sent a letter to the Biden administration with a list of questions about what the heck is going on.
Why we built so many.
Right.
That's what they're mad about. 7? How dare you?
We have significant concerns that under your efforts, American taxpayers are being taxpayer dollars are being woefully mismanaged, said Kathy McMorris Rogers, Jeff Duncan, and Morgan Griffin. The problem with these programs continues to grow. Delays in the delivery of chargers, concerns from states about labor contracting requirements, and minimum operating standards for chargers, the letter continues. Nathan Negro, founder of the Atlas Public Policy, said that some of the delays are to be expected. State transportation agencies are the recipients of the money. He said nearly all of them have no experience
Oh, that's great.
Employing electrical vehicle charging stations before this law was enacted.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant.
People upstairs just heard me scream.
Because we're giving money to a bunch of government individuals that have no idea what they're doing, going, good luck. And we're surprised. Again, this is a perfect example. This is exactly what goes wrong at a fundamental level. This is why it's broken. This is exactly it.
Negro says that the process, states have to submit plans to the Biden administration for approval, solicit bids on the work, and then award funds has taken much of the first 2 years since the funding was approved. I expect it to go much faster in 2024.
Not the actual getting the stuff done. It's the bureaucracy, because of course it's the bureaucracy. Of course it is.
A White House spokesperson said in an email that the nation's public charging network has grown substantially.
by 7. And if that's substantial, you know what their expectation was. 1.
Their goal is to reach 500,000 charging stations by 2026. Bill, what's the over-under on that?
There's no way. And my goal is to be 7 feet tall one day. I'm not getting there either. I'm not getting there either. Neither is our government. That's not going to happen. Oh, my gosh. This is exactly why it doesn't work. It's ridiculous. And you heard Biden adopted a Trump platform over the weekend. Did you hear?
No.
Yes, something that Trump has been pushing for, in fact, I think publicly 6-7 months ago, he made the public statement. And oddly enough, President Biden co-opted it this weekend. And both statements pissed me off. Both candidates made me mad.
I want to get to this in just a second. First, I got to talk about Colorado Farm Bureau. Whether you pulled out your skis or snowmobiles this last year, it was a great year for winter fun. But the snow means even more to Colorado agriculture. And I want you to know that our state's farmers and ranchers are doing their part to protect our future water resources. Good rain over the weekend. Thank God for that. The people of Colorado agriculture continue improving the efficiency of their irrigation systems and adopting farming practices that help crops use less water to grow. They're planting drought-resistant varieties, and they're leading talks with state policymakers about how to preserve water supplies when we have good years like this last one. My friends at the Colorado Farm Bureau are leaders in water conservation and water policy. They understand how to balance water for crops and water for families, and they're doing more with less. You can do your part. I recommend you join and become a member today. Go to coloradofarmbureau.com. That's coloradofarmbureau.com. All right, Bill, lay it on us.
Okay, this is the deal. Over the weekend, President Biden, and you've heard some of this, but not necessarily as targeted as it was, actually said he's looking at a 100% tariff on Chinese EVs, trying to keep them out of the market. About 4 or 5 months ago, President Trump said the same thing and was lambasted by the media and myself. However, none of that media, the exception of yours truly, is pissed off at Biden today about doing the same BS move. I understand what they're trying to do and why, but it's crap. There are other ways I believe you could do it, and especially the 100% tariff on the EV. I think that you are artificially constraining competition. I think it hurts the market. However, I also acknowledge the Chinese aren't playing fair because they are undercutting their own prices domestically in order to compete and then charging more internationally to make up the difference, which does happen.
But that just means cheaper products for us. So what's the problem there? I understand it. At the end of the day, you're not getting jobs to Americans. But this is where I think conservatives sometimes don't stand with President Trump on tariffs.
Well, I think they do. And I think I would assume that, again, okay, that is a fair statement. I'm sorry, I will retract that. I think you are correct because, unfortunately, in my mind there, I conflated conservatives with MAGA, and they're not the same. They're not a circle. They're in the Venn diagram. Maybe Venn diagrams. They're not the same. So you're right. I would say you're absolutely right. So I'll back off on that one. I concede that. You're right. I think the MAGA folks are very mad about it and would love to see a 300% tariff on things like Chinese EVs. For me, the Chinese, again, we've talked about it, BYD has become a very efficient model in how to make these things affordable. And they've gone after all aspects of the market. They do supercars and they do really, really cheap, inexpensive entry cars. And I think that competition would be good inside of the U.S. market. Yeah. And if we want to talk about subsidies for American companies in order to catch up, I could be persuaded. I know you can't, but I could be persuaded. You know how I roll. So, yeah.
Hey, I do want to talk to you about Mountain High Appliance. Let's get with Rocky Mountain Dental. They're coming up next. Mountain High Appliance, hurry in now. Check out their Get the Look sales event. Now, for a limited time, you can receive up to a $3,000 rebate with the purchase of select GE Cafe appliances. Enjoy Mountain High Appliance's price match guarantee special financing offers. See store for details and experience the difference at one of Mountain High Appliance's 4 locations in Denver at East 64th, in Littleton, Louisville, and Glenwood Springs. My friends, Mountain High Appliance, great organization to get those appliances updated. Check them out, Mountain High Appliance. All right, Bill, what's your over-under on Michael Cohen here? You think today's going to be devastating for Donald Trump?
No, I think today is the bow on top of the present. I think this is the closure. I think this signifies that prosecution is very, very close to the end, because you want to end with a memorable, or come close to the end with a memorable witness. You don't want to have the boring witnesses be the close, because you kind of lose the momentum with the jury. So you want to end with some sort of a splash. And I think the prosecution has done a decent job so far. Again, we talked about it earlier, triangulating, unless Donald Trump's cross-examination can really take him down or tear him apart, or say something about, you did this on your own, because that's the predicate. They keep saying that, no, Cohen went rogue. This was not directed by Trump. Trump was not involved. And until they can knock that back, and especially the conversations they have, I think it's going to be more like the Stormy Daniels. I think that they're going to be trying to lay gloves on him, but until they find what that one major weakness is, I'm not sure. But I'm curious to see what their approach is, because they've got to be ready for him, and they had to have been working on it. So in that cross-examination, what's the approach? Because that'll tell us everything.
I think Michael Cohen's inability to control himself is going to be a big downfall.
Could be, actually.
You know, they've asked him, don't do the TikToks.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't do the TikToks. Well, one more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, stop saying things bad about Trump. You're tainting the case. Okay, I'll stop doing it.
Oh, yeah.
But one more.
Yep. Oh, yeah. It's a dog and the chicken story.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is, the dog's going after the chickens on the farm, and farmer comes over to dog. He's like, listen,
Christy, no?
Yeah, no more chickens. You got to get in chickens. Okay, boss, I got it. No more chickens. You get it? You get it, dog? No chickens. You cannot chase and eat any more chickens. You got it? We're talking no chickens. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. I understand. No more chickens. All righty. Thanks, dog. We understand. No more chickens. Yep. No more chickens. But what about that chicken over there? That's kind of what it is. That's exactly what it is.
So tomorrow, Chris Murray is going to join us in the 6 o'clock hour to dive into all these details. This is a big day for the case. I think that this becomes the nail in the coffin. I don't think the prosecution's made their case. I think Stormy Daniels did not do as well. I think there's a lot about this case that could be appealed. And I'm not sure the jury's going to buy into all of it. And then Michael Cohen's going to take it, and Trump's attorneys are going to rip him to shreds. That's where I am in on this, Bill, a little bit on the other side, but we're going to have to see. Hey, with all of the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to talk to you about Dr. Mike at Rocky Mountain Dental Group. I spend a ton of time with dentists, not because I want to, but because genetics. And so I've gotten to know him, and I know good dentists. This is a guy that is very kind, is going to do great work for you. Trust me. You can see for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. Do yourself a favor. Go there. Staff goes beyond expectations, and they provide excellent service, affordable, friendly, reasonable, gentle, careful, kind service. And if you're experiencing recession on your upper or lower gums, ask Dr. Mike about the groundbreaking procedure called pinhole gum rejuvenation technique, a treatment option for those experiencing receding gums. It's scalpel-free, suture-free, and a graft-free procedure. Just a tiny pinhole and a gentle repositioning of the gums. Visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com, or give them a call, 303-233-1335 for a free consultation. 303-233-1335. Visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
been a great show. Thanks so much for tuning into the Jeff and Bill Show. Did an update on the Trump trials, dove into a debate that Nancy Pelosi did at Oxford. Didn't have that on my bingo card.
Yeah, it's weird.
She kind of fell into kind of like campaign mode and beating up Republicans and stuff like that.
She's a hand talker. I didn't know she was a hand talker.
Yeah.
Like me. Like, that's crazy.
We presented our 13 demands to Mayor Mike Johnston.
Yes.
That during the 8 o'clock hour. And then Joe Biden tells a lie a minute during CNN interview. New York Post dove into that.
And neither of us were surprised. Neither of us were shocked on that one. Not at all.
Jordan Scott is hosting an Israel Independence Day down at the state capitol, joined us in the 9 o'clock hour. I'm so glad Jews are celebrating Israel's Independence Day. They're not being intimidated by these protesters and radical left and Timmy Epps and that whole crew.
Good.
So they're going to be down there celebrating. I'm going to try to swing by and join them down there. That's from noon to 5 at the state capitol. And then Joe Biden's $7.5 billion investment into EV charging stations and only built 7. So if you missed the conversation,
it was an accomplishment. They were proud of that.
If you missed all that, go to 710knus.com. Up next, Charlie Kirk. You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.